Good morning. I hope your rainy Tuesday gets a little bit better. The weather gets a little bit better, and maybe you're cruising on into the holiday weekend. But thanks for waking up and spending some of your time with us here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, along with Mark Dykton spinning the hits over there. We've got James Boyd back from Kansas City through Chicago. No problems traveling home yesterday. Everything good?
Everything good.
All right. Kevin Bowen. I love Kevin Bowen. It's like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, and I'm bopping downstairs between the 5th floor and the 4th floor, and there's this big conference room with windows on it. You can see right through it when you come down to the 4th floor. And I look over there, and I have to double take. It's a guy with no hat on and a beautiful full head of hair, and it's Kevin Bowen. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you wear a hat every day?
Kevin in the wild.
You get all that great stuff about the We Grow Hair, and it looks fantastic, and we never get to see it. And I thought, man, that's a good-looking dude with a good-looking head of hair right there.
Yeah, you guys aren't on the shower list.
We're not important enough, James. That's how that goes.
That's how I view you three.
Very
I've
nice.
not met shower list. I like you guys. Good dudes.
But you were just sitting there by yourself over in the corner of the conference room.
I'm glad you like me.
I was next to some boxes during the Shane Steichen Zoom, as James Boyd, I'm sure, is used to in there.
I did look at that. I was like, I know what that is.
Yep. We are moving buildings.
Yeah, the conference room has become a staging area for all of the equipment that's going to be moved over there as we get ready to move. Hopefully I keep hearing the middle of next month, but I don't believe it, Kevin. So whenever you ask me, like, hey, when are we supposed to move? I shrug my shoulders because I just don't believe it right
Someone
now.
showed me a couple of pictures of the new studio. It's quite swanky, I must say.
Oh, it's going to be nice. Everything's going to be brand new.
What a word.
Equipment, everything.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons for the last 6 months when things break or fall apart in here that we haven't replaced any because we're getting all brand new stuff over at the new place. So just kind of hold everything together like my chair here with Band-Aids and baling wire, as they like to say. Speaking of Band-Aids and baling wire, that's kind of the story of the entire season for the Indiana Pacers. But I'll say this again. James, they keep coming at you. They don't quit. They don't go away.
Yeah, I don't know. Where do we rank this on the moral victory scale?
Well, I don't know what else,
the Pistons have won, 13 straight? And they gave the best team in the East, one of the best teams in the NBA, a run for their money. So, I don't know. Should I approach that with Rick Carlisle here in about an hour, or do you think I'll get dunked on?
I think that's clear. That one thing I'll say is it's clear that this team is not intentional. I mean, it is what it is. Somebody wrote a note to me yesterday and said, you notice how not only do the Pacers have one of the worst records in the NBA right now, but the Noblesville Boom, can't say that all together, are having a terrible season too. And to me, it was pretty obvious. Kevin, all the best players at that level for the Boom are probably on the roster for the Pacers every other game. And the Pacers are just trying to recruit warm bodies to finish basketball games. That's why you have two bad records, right?
Yeah, James, I kind of feel the same way. Driving in, I thought the weather was kind of fitting for how I feel about the Pacers' result last night. It's one of these weird, 55-degree days in late November, but it's raining. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel about the Pacers' result last night. It's like, it sounds a little icky, but, guys, the reality is they haven't created many clutch games, period, lately.
Right.
And they created one last night against a fully healthy Pistons team. We should acknowledge last week this Pistons team did not look like Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, and Tobias Harris. And really, it was a night we haven't seen from the Pacers in quite a while. It was a night where others actually stepped up. And really, Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard were two of the more inefficient guys offensively for you. It was a great night for the bench. You could probably say it was Jarris Walker's one of his finest nights as a pro, frankly. And I thought T.J. McConnell was vintage. T.J. McConnell and even Jay Huff and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl gave you a little bit more. And again, that hasn't really been there for you. So, it seems like we're kind of going through the weeds to find, okay, is there anything you can point to Pacer-wise? If you want to last night, you could point to Jarris Walker. You could point to that. 21 points for him. Shot it well. And right now, that's just kind of the reality of where we're at, especially in this stretch. You play Cleveland on Friday. You've got Toronto tomorrow night. For those that haven't been paying attention to the Raptors, they're the second best team in the East, second hottest team in the East. They've won 12 of 13. So you kind of just shrug the shoulders and wait for the Wizards and the Bulls to get to town later this weekend.
One other just observation that means nothing to anything other than I keep, whenever he's shooting free throws and you see the waist-up shot, Jalen Duren looks like he could play tight end in the National Football League. That dude is put together, man.
Yeah, he's made quite the leap this year, and trying to tie it back to the Pacers, you see the jump he's made for the Pistons. You'd like to see a similar jump for Jarris Walker. And it's just one game, but it was very impressive to me. What I liked the most, you guys, about how he performed yesterday, besides his shot making, of course, when you make shots, everyone's your biggest fan, he was decisive. I thought that he really didn't overthink the game. It was, hey, shoot, pass, dribble, and it was done with that 0.5 mentality that the Pacers always kind of preach of playing quick basketball. I know Stephanie White actually talks about that as well with the Fever. So I enjoyed how comfortable and confident he looked out there, and let's hope that that will continue, and we'll get a chance to catch up with Carlisle later about that and the mentality that Jarris Walker approached yesterday's game with.
Do we need to start having a conversation about Ben Shepherd? He just
not being able to make shots?
He's just not being able to make shots. But, I mean, in 23 minutes last night, he had 1 defensive rebound, 1 personal foul, 1 assist, and 0 points. Like, it looked like he was – and I like Ben Shepherd, and he had some contributions certainly last year in that big run. But right now, he's just kind of running around the court, it looks like.
Yeah, I think an issue is, A, what else are you going to do? I agree with that. Like Jarris Walker was struggling in the starting lineup. They've moved him to the bench, and
right.
Maybe that's a little bit more of a comfort spot to him. The thing that I thought last night was a little odd too with Shepherd is like they threw the Cade Cunningham assignment on the plate of Andrew Nembhard, and it's like, man, at some point you're just throwing the 3-year-old into the deep end. I mean, it's just a lot for Andrew Nembhard in particular to handle. Sar Thompson's guarding him on one end.
That's why I'm not shocked that the efficiency offensively wasn't really there, because it's like, all right, here's your gift to defend Cade Cunningham, and then now you get defended by one of their best defenders.
And this is what Rick talked about at the start of the season, putting too much on Andrew's plate. And my thought is with Ben Shepherd in the starting lineup, that assignment should go to him. That's where it's Donovan Mitchell Friday night. It's, whoever else you want to kind of view in the guard spot for him there. And I would say one thing to add on Jarris Walker, I thought Pascal Siakam had an interesting comment post-game he said he told Jarris after the game he felt like he could count how many times he dribbled in the game. And I think that's just kind of a reminder of vet telling young pupil, hey, man, keep it simple.
Yep.
To your point, James, don't overthink it. Just play. And I get there's a fine line. And as you said very accurately, when you make shots, everything else probably gets swept under the rug there. But nonetheless, one of the better nights Jarris Walker's had, certainly in his young NBA career.
Yeah, so look, they kept getting behind, way behind, and they kept coming back, and they actually had a chance to tie it up with just less than 10 seconds to go. Shot didn't go down. I thought it wasn't the cleanest look, but it wasn't a bad look to try and tie the whole thing up. So
yeah,
I mean, they were right there.
That's been the story of the season. Well, actually, it hasn't been the story of the season, but early on this year, it felt like that, and this is what it felt like. It felt like the Pacers, kind of old, where you find a way to stay in the game, and perhaps that sort of effort, attention to detail, decisiveness, as we alluded to earlier, can help you get over the hump in some of these next games coming up.
Yeah. I only passingly paid attention to the Monday Night Football game last night, 49ers and Panthers. I almost felt like I just needed an NFL breath. Sometimes you just need to take a quick breath. I check it out every once in a while, go away from the Pacers game, but
you okay? Everything good with your life?
Yeah, didn't hold it.
I'm a little worried about you. You need an NFL breath.
I did.
This is the heart of the season, baby. Ain't no breath.
I love it.
Are you ready for Thursday? We might need to.
Here's the problem.
Need to prepare you. Thursday and Friday is one of the greater 4-game Thanksgiving slates I can recall.
Yeah. I think I'm just mentally exhausted. I played way too many daily lineups the other day. All of my guys on fantasy either getting hurt or suspended. And Juwan Jennings is probably going to get suspended after throwing a punch at the end of the game last night. I just need a day or two. That's all I'm saying. Well, just need a day or two because we're going to have 3 full games coming up day after tomorrow, right? And don't we get a Friday game this year too?
Yes, Marks Bears, Eagles Bears.
And then we get Sunday, all day Sunday. And, of course, we got bucket game coming up on Friday night. I just needed a football breath. That's all.
Well, one thing I do want to mention, especially for the ones who tune in early for the show, I thought Shane Steichen has some interesting comments when it comes to Daniel Jones and his health, or rather the lack of comments are related to his fibula injury. He told us he's fine, the 100%, playbook is at his disposal. But for those of us who were there at the game, and I'm sure you all watched it on TV as well, he was not 100%. And it was clear that he's not. And I'm not sure when he will be 100% again. So that's something to monitor moving forward with this team.
I know. I find myself a little bit today, James, in the psychoanalysis of Shane Steichen. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I hate wearing that hat.
Yeah.
I hate wearing it. But at times, the vagueness leads to some of it. And so, yes, I guess I will play that game here coming up 7:30, 8 o'clock with you. And on the Jonathan
He's
Taylor,
got a fibula.
He does.
That's all we got
he
yesterday.
does, which that's probably a good thing
I
for
love when they say he's got a fibula.
every human to have a fibula. And on the Jonathan Taylor regret game, I didn't sense a large amount of regret. Maybe a little, maybe just that final possession regulation. But, there has been a moment, I want to say even Pittsburgh. I thought he had a little bit more of the Monday blues of, you know what, number 28 should have gotten the ball more.
Yeah.
I didn't get that vibe from him. So we'll hit on that, and the Colts are going to be without one of their more, I would say, unique and some might say important players here for the next couple of weeks. So we'll share that news here upcoming here in a little bit.
All right, we got a busy morning for you on a Tuesday here. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Thanks for picking us up and taking us along with you wherever you might be, however you are listening to us. We will continue with all of it next here on The Fan. Good morning. Waking up today, we'll let you know that the Indiana Pacers came close, but no cigar last night. They rallied from a couple of double-digit deficits, one very late in the game, but came up just short late in the game. Benedict Mathurin had a chance to tie it up with about 10 seconds to go, but that was off the mark. Pistons got some free throws, end up winning their 13th in a row, 122-117. James Boyd, that ties the Pistons' all-time record for consecutive wins. The last two times they did that, they won NBA championships.
Yeah, they're a legit team. They look very good. I know a few years ago they had like the worst losing streak in the NBA, and so it's remarkable to see that turnaround for them. For the Pacers' purposes, you just hope that that effort that you showed last night can translate to some wins here because the moral victories are getting old.
Cade Cunningham certainly developing into the star that he was projected to be, 24 points, 11 rebounds. Karis LeVert, we know him a little bit, had 19 points, and Pascal Siakam led the Pacers with 24. Jarris Walker, I thought Kevin Bowen, maybe he had his best night as an NBA player, scored 21 points last night. How about that?
Yeah, back to the bench for him, and he definitely hit shots. Hit those open threes. I thought he had a couple nice takes there, and really it was the bench, which we haven't said this many times at all this season. It was the bench that kind of got the Pacers back into it, or even kept them hanging around there. I thought it was a really poor night for the starters, in particular Mathurin and Nembhard. Very inefficient nights from both of them there. I did like both teams' jerseys.
I did too. I like that court too. You like that?
The court is sweet.
Oh yeah, huge fan of that.
Good stuff. So next on the road tomorrow night at Toronto before returning back to the Fieldhouse on Friday when they will take on the Washington Wizards. I believe both those two games will be Commissioner's Cup games, won't they not? Or NBA Cup games?
I'd have to check and see. I feel like that always throws me off. I feel like I show up at the game, whether it's in person or I watch it on TV, and I'm like, oh, that's the Cup game because the court is weird.
Pacers are probably done, right, with the NBA Cup?
Yeah, but they still have to play out that round-robin schedule, I think. So.
Yeah, next two games are Cup games.
Yeah. All right. Also, the Indianapolis Colts returning back from Kansas City yesterday. They will get ready to take on the Houston Texans coming up at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Just curious, Kevin, what did Shane Steichen have to say about all the lingering questions yesterday when he met with the media?
Well, I mentioned it before the break. Ashton Doolin is going to miss a couple weeks, it sounds like, or miss some time with his hamstring injury as he exited late. Brian Mason, special teams coordinator, calls Ashton Doolin one of the three best special teams players in all the NFL. So, I don't think it's an overreaction to say it's a guy that he creates a couple first downs a game for you, whether it's his kick coverage, his punt coverage, whether it's his kick return, whether it's him showing up on offense. There's 20 to 30 Ashton Doolin yards in the game, even if it doesn't show up on a highlight reel. So the Colts will be without him, it sounds like, for some time.
That's not good news. We'll find out a little bit more over the next couple of days as, again, they get ready to play the Texans coming up on Sunday. College basketball yesterday. Notre Dame, valiant effort, but they come up short against Kansas 71-61 last night in Las Vegas. Any takeaways from that game, Kevin? Did you get a chance to watch much of it?
Makes me want to puke, you even saying valiant effort.
Wow. They were playing a ranked team.
Kansas without their best player. You need to win that game. Neutral floor. You're trying to build a non-conference resume. We're not trying to hand flowers to Bill Self after the game. Yeah, 4 for $1 million from 3.
Is it wrong that I try to get him going like that, James?
Back at it today.
You know how to get under your skin.
Also last night, Charleston beat Evansville 78-59 for more regional college basketball games. Later on today, Rutgers will take their shot at Notre Dame. That's a 1 o'clock afternoon start. We've also got Kansas State at number 25, Indiana. That one starts at 8 p.m. tonight as all of a sudden the Hoosiers show up in the very edge of rankings. How about that?
Yeah, I'd say a big one tonight in Bloomington. For those that haven't paid attention to Kansas State this season, they've had a decent start. P.J. Hegarty, one of the better scorers in all of college basketball, and they're a high-scoring team that can shoot it. Indiana is a notable favorite, though, inside of Assembly Hall. So I think it's 8.5 point favorite here for the Hoosiers. Remember, last week, kind of a little sleepy with those Incarnate Ward and Lindenwood bunch there. So we'll see if Indiana can snap out of it a bit tonight here. 8 o'clock, so a little bit of a later start time. I want to say it's FS1 along with, of course, WIBC.
That's the last time both Indiana football and basketball were both ranked inside the top 25 at the same time. Scotty, maybe Scotty can find that one out, but I bet it's been a minute. The number 2 Indiana Hoosier football team will play Purdue in the bucket game. That comes up on Friday night, Ross-Ade Stadium, 7:30 p.m. We're all looking forward to that one. Ball State plays against Miami of Ohio, and Notre Dame takes on Stanford, and the Fighting Andrew Luck's coming up on a late game, 10:30 Saturday night. You and Nelly probably catching that one together, huh?
Barry Odom saying Ryan Brown will start for Purdue. So for those curious quarterback-wise, what they'll do, Malachi Singleton, who has played definitely some, especially in that Washington game, it sounds like he will be available, and we'll see how quickly they turn to him. And then for Indiana, some injuries they've had lately to two of their stars, Elijah Surratt and Mikhail Kamara, both of them, it sounds like, will be in the starting lineup. Kurt Cignetti said yesterday. Mark, we should find the Kurt Cignetti audio describing Purdue. I believe he went with much improved.
Got to build him up.
That was the big and competitive at home, I think, was the other thing that he threw out there as well.
Yeah, you should take him seriously. You don't want to go mess up there. I don't think there's any way they could.
You've been high on Purdue this year.
I wouldn't say high, but they are improved. That's what I don't know what else you can say.
Might need to be high to watch Purdue.
Did you watch last year? Was there any way they weren't going to be improved?
Put that on a T for Mark.
They lost 66-0 to Indiana. It couldn't have gotten any worse.
It looks like they're actually fielding 11
Unless they play
players.
Syracuse from last week, it won't get worse.
This year it looks like they're actually fielding 11 players as opposed to what it looked like 9 or 10 last year at times.
I will say this, Kevin. I was watching the Notre Dame game. I was sitting in a barbecue place in Kansas City and had the game on, and I mean, I'm in between, like, every time I feel like I pulled a rib apart, I looked up, they had scored again. And I was like, has the offense taken the field? 21-0? Goodness gracious. That was one of the worst beatdowns I've seen in is it Power 4 now? Power 4 game in a long time. That was rough. I mean, well, I'll say this. It was the worst beatdown I've seen since my Illini got beat down by IU.
I mean, I don't know if I've really ever seen that in a football game, 21-0 before your offense touches the football.
Yeah, that felt like 6A versus 2A. Here in Indiana.
And all those Syracuse broadcast alums pretty quiet on social media over the weekend. They all chirp a little bit when all of a sudden the Orange start doing something.
They'll just immediately start taling about Carmelo Anthony's kid now in the basketball team.
They were all chirping yesterday of their effort against Houston. Pretty quiet against the old Notre Dame on Saturday.
There wasn't an NFL game last night, Monday Night Football. 49ers survived 3 first-half interceptions by Brock Purdy to beat the Carolina Panthers, who just don't have an offense. 20-9 was the final score in that one. Maybe the most exciting part of that game came after post-game handshakes were taking place, and Juwan Jennings decided that he didn't like the way he was treated by one of the defensive backs for the Panthers, who just walked up and smacked him inside of the head.
What, did they pick this Monday Night Football game out of a hat?
Maybe.
The only thing I could think of is they were going to say, "Oh, it's the Christian McCaffrey game."
That's exactly what they were
That's the only
looking
thing
at.
I could think of. I'm like, what would be the
boy? We're
point
really
of having
stretching
this?
there.
Well, you knew the Manning cast was
But
like,
honestly, what other logic is there? I'm kind of with
Yeah.
Mark on that one.
Yeah.
What
Mark, I
other
guess you're
reason
right.
can you give?
the Manning cast, they were like, this is a crap game. They had like 5 guests yesterday. Like they're throwing everybody at the wall.
They lined it up last night. They had everybody on there. I was watching that at the very beginning there. Colin Jost was on there for a while. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was him and Michael Che from SNL, and I forget who else. It was everybody. They were trying to, Peyton and Eli were like, we're not breaking down Bryce Young and Mac Jones and Brock Purdy here. We need to fill some time.
Yeah.
And to depend Juwan Jennings a little bit, the 49ers wide
He
receiver.
did get kicked in the nuts, right?
Well, yeah, he got punched, it looked like. So,
Punched,
you got to
yeah.
leave with that, Jeff. You can't leave the guy out there to dry for 2 minutes on the show and act like he's just some bully. He defended himself. This was basically like Jalen Ramsey 2.0, except he didn't get spit on, obviously. But, yeah.
So San Francisco wins it 20-9. Surprising with all that talk, though. Panthers are somehow 6-6, Kevin.
I'm not surprised by this.
NFC South is just, especially if Baker's going to miss any time. We'll see about that left shoulder with him. AC joint there. But again, a great Thanksgiving slate coming up on Thursday here. It's Packers-Lions to start, Chiefs-Cowboys at 4:30. And then the night game, Joe Burrow. Sounds like he will make his return against the Baltimore Ravens. That is the AFC North leading Raven.
Yeah. No buys this week. Nobody on bye this week, so everybody is playing. Also,
Can't be on Thanksgiving. You got so many games all over the board. You got to have everybody playing.
Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame announced a brand new class of inductees last night, and they include Rick Fox from the Warsaw 1987 team. I think we know Rick Fox went on to have a pretty successful career, both North Carolina and 3 championships with the Lakers. And also, that 1987 class, Mr. Basketball, Jay Edwards from Marion, also getting in last night. So that was kind of fun to watch there. Anything else you guys want to throw in right here, right now?
I have a question. When you tell your kids to apologize, do you tell them to apologize to the entire household, or do you tell them to apologize to whoever they wronged? Because I saw the apology from Jamar Chase, who will return this week for the Bengals, and in this long soliloquy that he posted on Instagram, nowhere in there did he say, I apologize to Jalen Ramsey for spitting on him. He wrote that I apologize to the entire Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Brother, you didn't spit on the entire organization. You spit on one person. The weakest apology ever. Just save it. Just come back, rip that up, chat GPT, delete that. That was bad.
Team, not me, right there. Shout out Caitlin Clark. Sounds like she's going to be on the court here, and quite a big way in a few weeks. Team USA announced women's national team camp coming up in a few weeks, along with Caitlin Clark. Leah Boston will be there as well. Stephanie White, one of the assistants. They'll go to Brazil next year for the World Cup. I want to say it's next September there. So obviously Caitlin Clark's health, something we saw not in. What last game played was July. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for
Middle
her
of July.
with that hamstring, groin, whatever it was. So Caitlin Clark will have a Team USA camp coming up here in December.
Scotty coming through, and it wasn't that long ago, and it makes sense now that you kind of think about it. IU football and basketball were both ranked last season. The basketball team was ranked number 17 at the start of the season, and they didn't fall out of the top 25 until the first week of December. They never got back, and, of course, great run for Kurt Cignetti's teams last year. So it was just last year when they were both ranked. I'd forgotten that there were decent expectations for the Hoosier basketball team at the very beginning of the year last season. Those went away quickly, didn't they? All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up next, we will talk a little bit more about the Pacers and the Colts, and also Rick Carlisle coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. Get his thoughts. 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock this morning. Thank you very much, Mark. So it's a busy, busy day here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You missed it yesterday, James Boyd. After that stomping of Syracuse yesterday, Kevin Bowen is all about Jeremiah Love for the Heisman Trophy now.
That is certainly a conversation we can have. What are the odds right now? Anybody know?
Starting to get a little closer. Mark, you can double check that, but I want to say like Julian Sayin and Fernando Mendoza were both like whatever plus 100, very close together. And Sayin was pretty quiet against Rutgers. Love obviously had a huge game, and I want to say Mendoza is now the notable favorite, but I want to say second might be Love.
Mendoza's number one at minus 125. Sayin plus 400. Jeremiah Love plus 450.
Always closing the gap.
So closing the gap a little bit there. So Mendoza at minus 125. Mark, what would you call that? Like a 2-point favorite in the NFL on a Sunday? Something like that?
Yeah.
For NFL, for people out there trying to make the comparison. Now, Sayin is going to get prime time, obviously Saturday. Ohio State, Michigan.
Can't wait for that one.
I cannot imagine too many people will be paying attention nationally to the bucket game on Friday night. So we'll see what Mendoza does, and then Notre Dame's in the 10:30 time slot on Saturday night. So not ideal either. But yeah, part of me just thinks whoever wins the Big Ten title, that's who it'll go to.
Yeah, probably whoever. If one of those quarterbacks comes out in that game and just has a big game, that'll probably be the end of it. But I mean, if Jeremiah Love comes up with like 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns against Stanford, he keeps himself right in there. If those two guys maybe play to a stalemate and it's a fairly low-scoring game, then maybe he sneaks in.
2015 Heisman Trophy winner?
Ooh, my college football history is not that great.
Hang on, let me think about
Derrick
it.
Henry. 2005.
Wow. It's been
Reggie
10
Bush.
years.
1995. Eddie George. 1985.
Oh.
Bo Jackson. 1975, Archie Griffith. 1965, Mike Garrett. It's 2025. The 5-0 running back. You believe?
I think he needed.
How much time did you have to yourself yesterday?
Do you believe?
I believe in him. I think he's a great player. I think that he needed IU or Ohio State to blink and lose at least one game. I don't know how much it'll factor into. I don't subscribe to the whole like your team's record is whatever. And we just saw last year that Travis Hunter won it without his team. I believe even being in like a legitimate big time bowl game. But I do wonder if that's a part of the conversation because the other two guys are undefeated.
James, what did you think of? A lot of people were asking yesterday about Shane Steichen taking the ball in overtime. I guess, A, were you surprised by that? B, what did you think of Steichen's rationale in explaining it yesterday?
I was a little surprised by it just because your offense is reeling, and I would like to know, not that I play any type of poker or whatever, but I think if you defend first, you have the chance to kind of see the opponent's hand before you show your hand. So if your defense, which to their credit, I think had been pretty solid all day, now the total yards are ridiculous, and you don't want to give up that many against anybody but against Mahomes and that team. You got to give up something, right? So I thought they did okay. And if they come out there and hold them to a field goal or even give up a touchdown, at least you kind of know what you're up against going forward. So I thought he put a lot of pressure on his offense to go out there and not only just score, but score a touchdown. Because it felt like at that point in the game, there was no way Kansas City wasn't going to get at least a field goal. And that's exactly what they did to go win the game. So I didn't love that decision. Not that I hated it all that much either, but I was probably like, 60-40 on that decision. And then his explanation of it, I understand, wanting to put pressure on them and kind of wanting to dictate how the game goes, but I just didn't agree with it.
Yeah, he called it, if you look around the league right now, it's about 50-50. Teams taking the ball versus wanting to play defense first in overtime. Just to remind everybody, it's a 10-minute overtime. Each team gets a possession. The biggest con, of course, of taking the ball is you don't have the must go for it on fourth down mindset that you would have if you were taking the ball second, assuming that team who takes it first has a score there. I didn't have too much of it, on my Steichen gripes from Sunday, I guess. It wasn't that high on the list, to be honest with you. First off, I thought your defense was absolutely gassed. So asking them to go back out there right away, I don't think would have made the most sense.
That's a factor I hadn't considered.
That's
to
the
your
one
football team.
argument that Kevin made yesterday that I was like, you know what? I hear exactly what you're saying because void of that, and I think that's a great argument, by the way.
Only one argument in 3 hours. Oh, boy.
No.
Yesterday must have been a rough one for me.
That particular one. I like that. And I started thinking a lot more about that yesterday throughout the day. But the other side of that context is they just hadn't done anything on offense, and it just felt like here's going to be another three. I mean, it felt like there's going to be another 3 and out. Kansas City has to go 30 yards to get a field goal, and that's going to be the end of the game.
By no means I think is one answer, gospel. Now, Shane didn't really point to the defensive side of it at all in his explanation yesterday. He pointed more to field position. And again, I know we're getting kind of in the weeds of it, but now with the touchback being the 35-yard line, when you kick off, you're going to start mostly, unless you commit a penalty, probably right around that 35-yard line. Whereas if you get the possession second in overtime, that is likely to come after a punt. The Colts obviously went 3 and out and they punted. I forget where Kansas City started their own drive.
I think they were inside their own 20, weren't they?
So that is obviously a much different field position right there. So that's what Shane pointed to, of a little bit of field position. If you are not scoring on that opening drive, you are punting the ball. They started on their own 10. So think about that. The Colts started on their 33. Kansas City started on their 10. That's a 23-yard difference in field position there. So I think that's what played into a little bit more of Steichen's thinking there.
But also, too, that team had just gone 90 yards.
Yeah, I'm not saying there is one overwhelming thought. I'm just trying to – it was a question we got probably more than any yesterday, and so I wanted to make sure that we brought that up for our audience.
I think the bigger thing that everybody's been talking about, and I know Shane addressed it a little bit yesterday, and maybe you have one of those cuts, Mark, where people were like, that fourth quarter, you just didn't use Jonathan Taylor. What was going on there? And Steichen said, I probably could have used him a little bit more on the very last drive, but that was really the only ground he was conceding yesterday, Mark, when he talked about it.
Well, I thought, credit to Kansas City. I thought they did a good job against the run. But there's obviously some situations there, too, where I could have probably called the run and popped a run there looking back at it. And so we had some stuff on the call sheet, felt good about some of those passes. Obviously, it didn't work out the way I envisioned it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so you always look back at those things and could I have done this, could I have done that, and I always look at that and learn from it, and we move forward.
I think the basic argument that most people would make against Shane, and you made it yesterday, Kevin, I want to get your thoughts on it too, James, is regardless of how you feel about your play calls and the sheets and everything like that, in that fourth quarter, when you had Kansas City on the ropes, ready to be put down, perhaps, for the rest of the season, you basically ignored the best player in the game. Jonathan Taylor just didn't get a chance to play a part in helping the Colts close that out.
Yeah, and I think that he was getting stuffed all game. He had the 127-yard run. So you look at the runs outside of that, it was very bleak. But my argument, even with that, was, one, JT is the type where if you just give him a little bit of time or a little bit of daylight, he can kind of make some magic happen where others humanly cannot. But two, the clock is your friend. And so by throwing it as often as they did and not being able to complete a pass, it essentially gave Kansas City, I felt like, the equivalent of maybe 2 more timeouts, Kevin. And they literally needed every single second to push the game into overtime. And one stat, rather, I don't know if it's a stat or just a fun fact, and I thought about this yesterday, is like, please correct me if I'm wrong, the Colts didn't trail until they lost. So from what I believe they had the lead the entire game, and then they got tied there late, and they didn't lose the game until they lost it on the last-second field goal from Harrison Butker. And I say that because I felt like the second half, particularly when it came into fourth quarter and overtime, especially the fourth quarter, he called that game like they were down 10. And I'm like, you're up. Use the clock as your friend just a little bit. I mean, that to me is a part of the game management that we've seen bite Steichen in the butt a little bit over the last couple of years. And it's become, I wrote it, and I have to go back and look at all the details of it. There's a few examples I can think of, but it's become a bit of a theme where when it comes to clock management, game management, every now and then Shane will sort of abandon the run for the pass because the run isn't working, but also not factoring in, hey, at least in this case, the clock is your friend, and you got to use all of your friends to beat up and get past the Chiefs.
Yeah, I thought you let Kansas City off the hook by just saying, you know what, you're showing us at the line of scrimmage non-advantageous situations. So therefore, we're not going to try with Jonathan Taylor in the fourth quarter and second half. So when Taylor's at his best. I said it quite often yesterday. Even if you want to take out the 80-yard run in Germany, James, Taylor's still averaging 6 yards per carry in the fourth quarter of the season. That's removing the heroic run in Germany.
But even on that one, did he get stuffed and we were like, oh, that's nothing?
But that's Taylor. That's
the whole
what
point.
makes
Yes.
him special. Go back to overtime at Atlanta. He makes those two dudes miss in the backfield, or he makes Billy Bowman miss in the backfield. Then on the game-winning touchdown, he makes Jesse Bates miss in the middle of the field. I go back to his overtime run yesterday, or Sunday. That was a 2nd and 6 where he gets bottled up, it looks like, right away. And next thing you know, Taylor trudges ahead, runs through some tackles. It's 3rd and 1. That is him turning bleak into something there. Now, this is where I kind of psychoanalyze Shane Steichen a little bit here. He didn't express a lot of regret yesterday in the lack of Taylor usage. I think that's a fair statement. You heard the clip right there. Yeah, maybe a little bit around the clock with that midfield drive. That was when I believe Daniel Jones threw the ball right to Kansas City and the two defenders ran into each other. It was that drive. So if he felt good about the passes, 8 straight of them, he made it very clear there was no limitations on play calling, given the injury. Does that mean deep down he just thinks Daniel Jones stunk in the fourth quarter yesterday or Sunday?
Perhaps, but also,
and again, I'm putting words into Shane Steichen's mouth to be very clear here, but he dialed up all these passes for a reason. He doesn't feel like there was any physical limitations. As he looks back on it yesterday, he doesn't express a whole lot of regret. Does he just think Daniel Jones was bad when he put the ball in his hands? Because Shane Steichen told the whole world on Sunday, I believe my quarterback right here.
And here's my pushback to that, because I do think, I have to take Shane's word for it. My own opinion, he did stink in that fourth quarter, and he couldn't really make the throws he needed to as of late. And it wasn't all on DJ. I thought Daniel was under siege a lot, some of those blitzes they gave and the looks that they kind of brought, the pressure they brought. But to kind of flip that question a little bit, Kevin, I want to give Shane truth serum and be like, how much do you believe in this guy? Because I do think he has been a revelation for this team. He has been the best quarterback they've had in years, probably since Phillip Rivers. But with that in mind, there are still limitations to Daniel Jones. And I think we're starting to see that over the last couple of weeks, where when things aren't perfect, like they pretty much were through the first 8 games of the year, what do you do? How do you respond? How do you look when things aren't perfect? Now, he hasn't looked terrible. I thought Sunday he played a fine game as far as threw a couple touchdown passes, no turnovers, no sacks. But winning time, I'm like,
very
what
fortunate
level
to have 0 turnovers.
Yeah, the one that should have been a pick. But hey, I could say that about a couple different players. But all of that in mind, where does he think he ranks in the league as far as quarterbacks I could just give the ball to and say go win a game?
He treated him like it was Mahomes,
right?
On Sunday,
and that's what it felt. I was like, wait a second, no, you don't have that guy. They do. So maybe you need to take less pressure or take pressure off of him and trust some other players in that situation, because I felt like after you started the game so after you started the game so hot, Daniel, I believe, was 14 of 16 passing to start the game. And I believe he ended 5 of 15. At some point, you got to realize, man, my dude is a little bit off. He doesn't have it. I think after the 3rd down miss to Pittman, I would have been like, all right, we got to figure out something else to do to alleviate some pressure on him besides saying, hey, number 17, go just win this game for us.
And I think a question that these final 6 games will lead to some answers for is, do NFL teams now look at the Colts and say, you know what? If we commit and neutralize Jonathan Taylor early in a game, Shane Steichen will not stick with him through the fourth quarter, even when they have a 2-score lead on the road. I mean, 2-score lead on the road screams throw to score, run to win. That's what it screams.
You know what's crazy? I felt like he abandoned his philosophy
that
he told us.
He went away from his own philosophy. So now do NFL teams look at it and say, guys, if we just show the numbers, they won't give it to Taylor. And that, to me, I think is a bigger issue of he is your best player. You cannot let the other team simply dictate to him pre-snap that you won't give the ball to him. That to me is coaching malpractice in eliminating one of your best players and not finding ways to, creatively block it up, try to get him the ball, trust Taylor to say, hey, man, you've shown the ability this year to, even when the numbers don't look great, and there's a dude right in your face, you have an ability to make guys miss. Whereas our who's the better self-creator, Jonathan Taylor or Daniel Jones?
It's not even close. It's Jonathan Taylor.
So that would be a question I'd have.
Justin checking in on the text line at 239-1070 today, as many people are. He says, can we just stop associating genius with Shane? It shouldn't be associated with him. The Chiefs were more committed to the run than the coach who has the best running back in football. Explain that one to me. LOL Varsity Blues. And he's right about the fact that Andy Reid had said during the week, we have got to get back to running the football. And they didn't have huge bust-out runs, but they stayed with it enough for, I think, 29 or 30 carries for Kareem Hunt. And he had just at 100 yards or 102, something like that. They never gave up on that run, and that allowed them to do some of the other things that they did throughout the game.
Yeah, and I will say easier to run the ball against the Colts. They don't have DeForest Buckner, number 99, in the middle of the defense. But, yeah, I think you still have to show some sort of commitment to your run game, to your best player. And credit to Jonathan Taylor. He will never step out of line. You know, we had a chance to follow up with him after the game. Hey, do you ever talk to Shane about these plays, these scenarios where perhaps you should touch the ball more? He's like, nope, we just got to go out there and execute what we're given. So I didn't get like a huge sense of frustration from JT other than the loss itself. And I can see why he would take that stance because to this point, I mean, he's having one of the most prolific rushing seasons in Colts history, so he should probably thank his play caller for that to some degree. But every now and then I'm just like, man, Shane, sometimes you perhaps outthink yourself a bit. And I always fluctuate myself from going and thinking NFL football is so complicated. Oh my gosh, there's so many different looks and plays. And look at the All-22 film, which for those listening, the All-22 film is when you get all 22 players on this screen and they basically give you like the raw version of the viewing experience, the tape, versus it's so simple, run the ball. So I think that Shane could, look back at that and maybe have some regret. Maybe some regret will be good for him because this cannot continue to become a theme, I think, over the next, 6 remaining games of the season and into the playoffs.
James, I know you were all over this yesterday. For those that were curious about it, one of the more pivotal plays in the game was the Noah Gray catch near the Colts sideline where I believe he's in concussion protocol right now.
Yeah, it looked like he got knocked out on the play, actually.
Yeah, and, should the Colts have challenged that? You want to share what Shane Steichen said about that?
Yeah, Shane said that he asked the official if they got to look at it, and they said, well, yeah, replay assist stepped in and ruled it a catch because he was going to challenge it. So for those listening, replay assist, I believe they have a few on site at the stadiums, basically other officials and people that know all the rules. And then they also have the league office back in New York who can occasionally step in and say, no, don't use this challenge. We've already ruled this a catch or not a catch or inbounds, not inbounds, those types of things. And in that case, he didn't use the challenge, which everyone watching at home, at least in my opinion, probably was thinking, what the heck are you doing? This guy was unconscious catching the ball. He didn't catch that. His body went limp. He said the refs told him it was a catch. So he just saved the challenge because if he challenges it at that point, he's going to lose the challenge, lose the timeout in a pivotal game. So a unique situation. I don't know if he caught it or not. I think it's one of those scenarios, Kevin, and I went back and watched the game copy to see all the angles they showed on the game copy. I really didn't see the ball hit the ground.
I was going to think it would be difficult to get the conclusive evidence.
Right.
Either way, if they would have called it incomplete on the field or if they would have called it complete, which they did.
But on the flip side of that, I hear all the fans, Colts fans in particular, telling me, well, what is a catch? And I would agree with them. I don't know, because the ball moved a little bit. Is it a catch? Is it not? I don't know. Did you control it through the ground? I feel like every time they show these slow-mo replays of a catch, I have no idea what they're going to call, and then whatever they say, I just have to roll with it. But, yeah, there's some clarity there for you on that play, which was a huge one. 3rd and 8, turning into 4th and 3 is a lot different than 4th and 8 if you didn't catch that.
Yeah, we will take some more of your feedback on the fan text line, and also you want to call in, we'll do that too. 239-1070. Rob Blackman, play-by-play voice for the Purdue Boilermakers, going to join us at 8:30 this morning. Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Pacers, at 9. It's a busy morning here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning. Talking a lot about the Colts and the aftermath of their loss at Kansas City in overtime, and also the Pacers coming up just a little bit short last night against the Detroit Pistons. But one other thing I have to get to, I was following you on social media over the weekend, James, and I need to know the resolution of this story because you had written that currently at the hotel bar restaurant, and there's a woman here in Kansas City crying and pouring her heart out about cheating with her best friend's boyfriend, and she's trying to defend it. She says, I was drunk. I didn't know what I did. How'd this whole thing end up?
I really don't know because I ended up finishing my dinner and she was still there, pretty inebriated at that point. And no joke, at one point I think I was talking to my dad about the day's games or something. I might have turned my head. And at this point she's still yapping and I tuned out everything she said. And she points, she goes, I know you heard that. And I look, and she's like, yeah, I know you heard that. And she laughed about something. And I was just like, whatever. So very weird night. Yeah. And actually I tipped, like I told you all yesterday.
This woman sounds nuts.
Yeah. I tipped my bartender a nice amount because it looked like she was having to deal with a lot of chaos. Because you know how I had got to the hotel restaurant place or whatever, and it closes at 10. I think I got there at maybe 9:15, 9:20. So I'm the last guy eating or whatever. And it's supposed to be winding down. And they're the people trying to slam in those last few drinks and order the last few drinks before they basically kick them out. And I'm like, you probably have had enough. And so they were Chiefs fans. They were supposed to be happy Chiefs fans. And I guess she was kind of happy. But, yeah, between crying and laughing, there was a lot of, soul searching there. And I wanted to tell her so bad, you need to be on Jerry Springer.
You never know what you're going to see when you go out. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get up to my room to get away from nonsense. I don't do drama, man. I was like, this is like watching Real Housewives of Atlanta or something like that. I just don't.
Mormon wives.
Yeah, I can't really relate to it. So when she's pouring her guts out to her best friend, and it's the sky is falling, I'm like, woman, pull yourself together.
She'll bring a lot of ammo to the Thanksgiving table coming up on Thursday.
Boy, could you imagine? Yeah, that's one of the things that I actually enjoy about living where I live is I ain't got to be around for too many family events. So when it's drama, I am oblivious to it all. Everyone's arguing about something, and I'm just like, hey, pass the mashed potatoes, and go to the other room.
I always wonder too when they're always, to your point earlier too, about making last call. For a lot of folks, I'm thinking for 50% of the folks in there, last call, that might be that just one too many right there.
Oh,
what do you think?
Definitely.
That's the one that gets you over the edge there, right?
Yeah, I pray for every bartender in America who has to give last call, and then there's somebody who's mad because they came up 2 minutes after last call.
James, several people reaching out expressing a little bit more disappointment in the defense of the Colts from Sunday.
Let's get into this, yeah.
How do you view it? We talked about it yesterday. If you would have told me on Friday's show with Sauce Gardner, Mooney Ward, and what I have said on paper is the best Colts secondary in the history of me covering
Didn't
the Colts,
look like it on Sunday.
Would give up the most passing yards Patrick Mahomes has had in 35 straight games.
Yeah.
I would have said, what? A 90-yard drive when the game was on the line, but then again, their offense provided zero complementary aspect to keeping them off the field. So how do you view the defensive effort from Sunday?
Well, first off, let's get our facts straight. It was an 87-yard drive. Let's stop rounding up, okay?
They had 90 total yards.
Just rude.
Right? Didn't have a penalty that would send them back.
Yeah, 87-yard drive officially. I don't want to slight the defense there, so if anybody's listening.
90 total, 87 net, to be clear.
But I think you do have to get the stop, and I think Zaire Franklin was big on that after the game. Credit to him for saying that. I think there might have been a question in the scrum where he was asked, hey, a few years ago, you guys were kind of struggling, and you come in here and you go toe-to-toe with the 3-time defending AFC champion, and you're right there. And he's like, he looked at the dude, and he was like, ain't no moral victories here. We lost this game. We get off the field. So I do think to get to the next level for this defense, with or without DeForest Buckner, you have to finish better. You got to get stops. I mean, you had opportunities. It was 3rd and 8. Noah Gray makes the crazy catch on the sideline. You go to 4th down. They convert the 4th down. So I think all those factors are huge when it comes to the defense. And I just want to know, how much do I balance giving a pass to a guy like Charvarius Ward, who gave up some big catches, I thought, in the 4th quarter, in overtime. One to Xavier Worthy that he wishes he could have back. Do I give him a pass? First game in a long time, first game in a few weeks, or do I not? So I liked what I saw early from the secondary. Didn't love what I saw late from the entire units get off the field. So overall, I'd probably give it maybe like a C+. You know, it wasn't great, wasn't terrible, but you got to finish. You got to finish. And I get that they were on the field for forever, but look, man, it ain't going to be pretty sometimes.
I also, maybe I have PTSD because I see it several times up close and personal every year, having followed the Broncos for so long. But I'm telling you, there's a look in his eye and a little waddle that he does when he's coming back to the sideline after rushing for a first down for 8 yards on 3rd and 7 and whatever the situation is all the time. I know this. If you're going to go in and win in Kansas City, you cannot just be up by less than a touchdown with 5 minutes to go and Patrick Mahomes has the ball. That's just the way it is, James. I know you got to have a defense that gets off the field, but he's sliced up better defenses than the Colts over and over and over. You got to run the ball and take the ball out of his hands for as many minutes as possible. That's where I get back to for all this.
I think that's a good point you made. Also, Kenny Moore, I thought was rough Sunday. Kevin, he was in the slot, often matched up with Rashee Rice.
Yeah, Rice had that huge play over the middle on him.
I thought that he got.
Yeah,
I thought Kenny had a rough day.
Yeah, Worthy got Ward there in overtime. That was a huge 3rd and 7 that really, got Kansas City on the move. It was kind of a wild stat. I was listening to Colts Roundtable Live last night with Joe Wrights and Rick Venturi and Matt Taylor, and I thought I heard Matt Taylor say it was the most the Colts have been outgained in a game since 2017, which is just wild to me.
There were some rough years in between now and then.
They've had some bad football teams and bad games since 2017 is the first year of the Ballard era. That's Chuck Pagano's final season, right? I'm trying to think back to who even was around in 2017. And, the Colts got outgained, I want to say, by 239, 240 on Sunday, which, obviously is an indicator of, okay, then how do the Colts have a 2-score lead? Well, plays like Latu's pick, plays like Zaire Franklin's fumble were huge in skewing, or maybe looking at some of that yardage and saying it's not an indicator of what the scoreboard looks like. And Kansas City was really poor in the red zone. The Colts did a nice job of that. So, Kansas City controlled the clock. They controlled the yardage. It was something that they just frankly controlled so much of it.
It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5. The Fan, 239-1070 is the Fan text line. Steve F. from Avon says, looking back, it definitely seems like our offense was exposed by Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, and now others might be looking to copy that philosophy. We wrote a lot of that off against Pittsburgh, James, to just that terrific defensive front that they have, and T.J. Watt in particular. They had some pressure issues that they were able to eventually get past against Atlanta, but the offense just couldn't move in the fourth quarter when they needed to yesterday. I don't know. Are people now getting enough first half tape on this offense and Daniel Jones in particular and saying, okay, this is how we're going to limit these guys?
I think he was always going to come back down to earth. I want to say he was like a top 5 quarterback in the league against the blitz through the first 7 or 8 games of the year, which was not Daniel Jones, the Daniel Jones we've seen for the majority of his career. And then now I believe he is like in the 20s as far as QBR and things of that nature. And for those listening, passer rating, QBR, those are basically just metrics to decide, have you been a good quarterback? And so he's dropped significantly in those categories against the blitz in recent weeks. And so I don't know so much of a lot of it probably is tape, Jeff, because you're going to look at what's worked for other teams and utilize to your advantage. But also, this has been the MO for Daniel Jones. Speed him up. And he will throw you the football. He will give you opportunities to turn it over, which he had done in the previous 2 games, not this past Sunday. And then on top of that, I go back to the question I asked you all, I believe, in the first hour of the show. How good does Shane Steichen think Daniel Jones is? Do you think he is like a fully rehabbed quarterback and he's no longer the guy we saw in New York? And if that's the case, I'd probably push back against that to some degree. Or do you think that there are some limitations to his game that you have to at least factor into how you call games and play call going forward? Because to me, he called that game again like he had Patrick Mahomes, like he had a dude that had gone out there and won a bunch of playoff games and had proven himself to be the man, and that's just not the case for Daniel Jones. I think he's more than a game manager, but less than I don't know, a guy I would latch on to and say, hey, go win me a championship. Like you lead the way.
Seaberg says, yes, Kevin is right. Chiefs played Shane for a fool. He did exactly what they wanted him to do just because they showed 8 in the box. Shane dying on this hill is predictable. Teams have figured us out. I don't know. Are we ready to say, well, it's all over. They've all figured us out now. Let's just see what they do these next couple of games, because they're still playing NFL teams, and you can't just completely discount those first 10 games when they're 8-2. They did a lot of really great things. I think the biggest thing, if I were Shane and I could change one thing, I would just give Jonathan Taylor the football more in the second half. That's really where I'd go.
Couple things on my mind leading into Sunday. Again, we'll just have tomorrow's show. Well, Thursday and Friday we won't be on air, so we'll probably get a little Texans thoughts here the next couple days. I cannot reiterate enough how absolutely massive these next 2 weeks are. Home to Houston on Sunday, at Jacksonville on Sunday. If you look at playoff chances, odds, 6 games to go. If you win these both, I want to say the odds of you winning the division is like north of 90%. If you lose both, it drops to like 15%.
Ooh.
So 90-something to 15-something. If you were able to take care of business in both or lose both, and if you split, you're looking at right around a coin flip here. Again, you'll face Houston and Houston and Jacksonville again to close out the season. So the next 2 weeks, and then in the same or in the reverse order, it'll be Jacksonville week 17 at home, Houston week 18 down there. And also, when I look at Houston, they have 2 dudes in Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter that can easily wreck a game. We have seen that here. We saw it Thursday night against the Buffalo Bills. Nico Collins has also wrecked the Colts. He has absolutely dominated the Colts in the last 3 matchups. It is absurd, the numbers that he has put up against Indianapolis. Now, having said that, and this kind of goes back to the defensive conversation we just had, and I do think the blueprint of defending Patrick Mahomes is different than defending a C.J. Stroud Texans offense. So my question would be, Sauce Gardner, Mooney Ward, that cornerback duo is not, Darrell Baker Jr. or, I think maybe even Juju Brent started a couple of those games. I mean, you have much different cornerback, duos here on Sunday than you've had in recent memory with Collins. I really don't have a lot of fear in the Houston offense if I were a Colts fan outside of Nico. That's it. I mean, I don't think Houston runs it very well. I don't think they have a lot of skill guys outside of Nico Collins that strikes fear in you, but he's a dude that has absolutely torched you in the last 3 meetings.
Here are the stats for you. Last 3 meetings, Nico Collins is averaging 7.8 receptions, 152.7 yards, and 20.8 yards per reception. He's got 2 touchdowns in those 3 games as well. So
is it Sauce Gardner to the rescue?
It might be. I thought that Sauce was pretty good against the Chiefs. Could have been better.
He's still figuring out where he is in this defense and what's going on too, don't you think?
I don't know if it is a shadow, to be honest with you. I think they look at those 2 and say, let's leave them on the same side of the field. Maybe it'll change on Sunday, but I don't view it as Sauce, you go follow around.
I guess my only
Nico Collins.
Reason I threw it out there was because Nico has great long speed, and that's the one thing that, if you look at Javarius Ward and the scouting report and limitations in his game, he's a very talented player, is he doesn't have the long speed. So would that be a factor in how you match those guys up? But then granted, you can always have some safety help over the top. It's not like it's one-on-one to the outside. So a lot of factors there, but Nico Collins, yeah, he looks like Jerry Rice every time he plays his team.
22 catches and 26 targets in those 3 games.
The efficiency is crazy.
And when you just rattled off those yards, James, that's not dink and dunk to Nico Collins. You're not throwing a bunch of screens.
He's averaging 21 yards a catch
to him. So, and he did get a little banged up on Thursday night. He stayed in that game against Buffalo. And again, Stroud still needs to clear concussion protocol. So they'll get back to practice coming up tomorrow. They obviously had the 10 days off. Colts will go walk through tomorrow, by the way. Late in the season, a lot of teams start to do this. So the Colts will go walk through tomorrow. And then they'll have an early Thanksgiving morning practice on Thursday.
Walk through? They don't deserve to walk through. They got to practice. They got to get back out there and get some things corrected. Do I sound like everybody right now? Thinks the sky's falling?
They can hide the Daniel Jones fibula injury a little longer.
Yeah, and look, Chris is pushing back on the fact that I keep saying they need to run the ball more with JT in the second half. We've talked about it again and again, but maybe you just didn't hear it or missed it. Thanks for tuning in. with Jonathan Taylor, I don't care if you give it to him 9 times in a row and he only gets 9 yards on those carries. That 10th time, it's always got the potential to be a game-breaking run or at least a 12 or 15-yard run. And people are pointing out, well, except for that one long run that he had, they didn't do anything all day long. But that's what Jonathan Taylor does. It's nothing, and then boom, game has exploded.
Well, and look, I'm not saying you need 8 straight runs with Jonathan Taylor like you had 8 straight passes with Daniel Jones. I think you can find a little bit of a balance, though, in that you let Kansas City off the hook. Jonathan Taylor is at his best in the fourth quarter. That is a 1,000% true statement. And by limiting him in that quarter, you just bent the knee, frankly, to Kansas City. And you put the game in the right hand of Daniel Jones, and no thank you on that.
And I think I go back, too, is like we all keep talking about this offensive line and how good they are at running. And I know it was a little tougher than normal against Kansas City. But in the fourth quarter, aren't you supposed to be the team that wears the other guys down the longer the game goes on? Isn't that what we've talked about in the first 10, 11 weeks of the season, James?
Yeah, and that is a big concern. You weren't able to kind of break them down. They broke you down, but look, man, I'm just here to say, or remind all those listening, the sky isn't falling here in Indianapolis. They're 8-3, but to everyone's point on the show here so far, you don't get any cupcakes anymore. You got some big tests coming up, and how you respond to your first real bit of adversity. Shout out to Joey Erickson from Indy Star. He was really harping on that after the game. Like, this is the first time you've kind of felt like, are we as good as we think we are this year? Because you lost 2 of the last 3, and that just hasn't happened this year. So how do you respond against some teams that surely will give you, I think, some formidable games? You're looking at the Houston. I get all the offensive issues and limitations you talked about, Kevin, but the return of C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, is Jerry Rice against them, and their defense gives them so many opportunities to basically go out there and win a game with, just 20, 21 points. So can you go out there and respond against, one, a very stingy Houston defense, and also in a division matchup that is huge? Because you talked about it very much, Kevin. The bigger game of the two over the last 2 weeks is this one, although psychologically it might have been over in Kansas City, but from a standing standpoint, your division, you got to go out there and beat Houston. Otherwise, it gets really dicey, I think, down the stretch. Also, Colts win 2 of their next 3. Do we just forget about Kansas City as being like a speed bump? If they win 3 of 4 or 2 of 3, that was an overtime game. We lost by 3 in Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes. Just blow it off at that point?
If the Colts go on to win?
Yeah, if they just go on and they get back to what they were doing the first half of the season, then it's just a bump in the road, right?
Yeah, I would guess. I'm
just saying, we sit here and all of us, and myself included, are like analyzing this game, what they should have done, and then could have put the Chiefs away, and now what does it do for their playoffs with this tough schedule going on? But I've adopted this new philosophy the last couple of years, like, what if it all works out? Well, what if it all works out?
And what?
Oftentimes it does.
What if Margot Robbie walks in that door right now?
I'm like, man, I think I might be a pessimist. I gotta go talk to Santa.
What if Augusta National calls me today and says, Kevin, we have an open tea time this afternoon.
Jeff, do you know the market you're in? What if it all works out? Look at the Pacers, man. Oh my gosh.
Do you see what that statement has given us?
Look at Caitlin Clark in year 2.
You see what that statement has given us, Mark?
Oh gosh. I'll tell you what, you giving me some blood flowing here this morning, so respect.
I need whatever drugs you're on right now.
Oh, I wish I was on plenty this morning, believe me. All right, let's check down and tell you what's happening right here, right now. There's nothing better in my day than if I say something and both guys just sit up straight. They're like, what are you talking about?
I think everyone listening to the show says the same thing or had the same reaction.
That's all right. Colts versus Texans, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. My point, Kevin, is ultimately a good performance at home against the Texans, and we put it all behind us at this point in time and just start looking forward again.
And it all works out.
Yes.
Mr. Rogers style.
It is a massive one coming up on Sunday. There's no doubt about that. Colts, I think, about a 3-point, I almost said 3 and field goal, 3-point favorite in this one.
All right. As far as what we learned from Shane Steichen yesterday, anything as he addressed the media after the loss to Kansas City?
The most newsworthy item was the loss of Ashton Doolin, wide receiver / special teams ace for this team for, quote, some time. That could be a couple of weeks. At least that's my interpretation of it. with Ashton Doolin due to a hamstring injury. And then he didn't offer anything when it comes to Daniel Jones and his fibula injury, although I think we all saw that he was limited in some capacity physically against the Chiefs. But all Shane would say was, he's got a fibula. And I want to say I would hope that is the case because you can't play quarterback well without it.
What happened to the other one would be my question. It's got a fibula. All right, so that'll be 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. is when the network pregame starts, but JMV will get you going with the ride to kickoff starting at 9 a.m. on Sunday. Also, the Indiana Pacers last night at home at the Fieldhouse, taking on one of the best teams in the league right now, the Detroit Pistons. Came in having won 12 games in a row. Pacers push him to the end. Benedict Mathurin has a chance to tie it with a 3. Less than 10 seconds to go, but it was off the mark. Detroit gets a couple of free throws. They win their franchise-tying record 13th straight game, 122-117 over the Pacers. Cade Cunningham led the Pistons with 24 points, 11 rebounds. Karis LeVert had 19. And once again, I'll tell you what, he's consistent. Pascal Siakam, 24 points. He just brings it every night, doesn't he?
Yeah, the consummate professional and a great leader for this team, especially in a time like this where you need someone to kind of stabilize you. I think Siakam offers you a lot of perspective because he's been on every end of the NBA spectrum.
Also last night, Jarrett Walker, Kevin, might have played his best basketball game as an Indiana Pacer. Scored 21 points coming off the bench. Looked like a pretty good player last night.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the weather on the drive in, honestly, when I look back at last night with the Pacers. It's like, reality is creating a clutch game against one of the best teams in the league is a step in the right direction. And Detroit was healthy, which they weren't last week when you faced them. And really your bench, I would argue, was probably the unit that was better for you in that game, at least kind of kept you hanging around. Walker was a part of that. I thought TJ McConnell was very good. Jay Huff and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl even had a few moments. So much needed for Jarris Walker. We'll see if he can string a few together.
Pacers will play on the road against the Toronto Raptors tomorrow night. Last night, the Raptors beat the Cavaliers by a score of 110-99, playing at home. And the Raptors, all of a sudden, James, are one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the upside down. The Patriots had the Stranger Things theme yesterday for some of their pregame stuff, and it amazes me that Detroit is number one in the East and the Toronto Raptors aren't in the gutter anymore.
This Pacers playback is presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers, cnjwater.com. Moving on to college basketball last night. Kevin, how did Notre Dame do against the Kansas Jayhawks?
They lost. They couldn't throw it in the ocean from 3. Not happy about it.
71-61. It was in Las Vegas. Flory Badunga had 18 points. Bryson Tiller had 17. Trey White, 16 for Kansas. Marcus Burton scored 24 in the loss. Jalen Harrelson had 13 points. Not much happening after those two, really, offensively, was there?
Yeah, Flory killed him. Flory absolutely dominated the game.
Shout out to the former Kokomo product, right?
I know. I should be happy for him, but I'm not.
Later on tonight, Indiana will play at home with a brand new 25th ranking showing up in the top 25. They'll play at 8 o'clock against Kansas State this evening. They are 5-0, 4-0 at home so far. And Notre Dame gets another crack at it in Las Vegas. Kevin, 1 o'clock this afternoon, they'll take on 4-1 Rutgers. Both teams 4-1 right now.
It's a big game for Indiana tonight. You know, the Marquette win I don't think is maybe – I think it was notable anytime you score 100 against a Shaka Smart team, but Marquette's, I think, like 500 right now. So, you know, maybe it won't carry as much weight as you would think it would. Kansas State, yes, it's in your own building. You're an 8.5-point favorite. They've had a nice start to the season. P.J. Hegarty's been one of the best players in college basketball, frankly, early on. So, you know, good to get another one for Darren DeVries and company before they got those back-to-back Saturday games in December. Upcoming with Louisville on the neutral floor and then at Kentucky.
And we're all getting ready for the bucket game coming your way Friday night, 7:30 p.m. up in West Lafayette. Number 2 Indiana taking on Purdue as the Hoosiers continue to try and drive themselves all the way towards a national championship and finish up their regular season. Number 9 Notre Dame plays on the road at Stanford. Also, the Indy Ignite had their draft yesterday, and it was very locally themed. They selected 2 Indiana natives for their professional volleyball team up in Fishers, Kara Caress and Emma Halter. Also, 2 IU players were selected by the team, Candela Alonso Corcelis and Avery Tatum. So a lot of local flavor yesterday. I know Jake was doing his broadcast up there from the Indy Ignite draft. Have you been to any of those Indy Ignite? Those are actually fun to go to.
Yeah, I went to opening night with my sister-in-law, actually. It was an awesome atmosphere. Yeah, I saw Pepper and Jake were high-fiving yesterday on camera there. Emma Halter had a hell of a career. at Roncalli. So cool to see a little bit of a local flavor, and looked like she was very, very happy to be returning to her home city.
Mark, I think your girls would love to go see an Indy Ignite game.
Gotta get
Probably have
out
a good
there.
time, man. All right, anything else you guys want to throw in before we get ready to go to Rob Blackman here?
Yeah, announced yesterday, Caitlin Clark will be a part of Team USA's national team camp coming up here in a few weeks. Leah Boston as well. Obviously, for Caitlin, it'll be her, one of her first times, I guess, playing 5-on-5 and quite a while here, certainly in a notable setting. Stephanie White, one of the USA assistants. I think it's an 18-person camp. A lot of young talent. You definitely have some older players still. Kelsey Plum, Brittany Griner, some older players there. Chelsea Gray, I believe. But a little bit more of a young flavor there. So they'll have a camp coming up December 12th through the 14th. So Caitlin Clark back and healthy and ready to go.
Diana Taurasi's looking to see which young gun she can knock off the roster. I got one more in me, Coach.
Going to Nancy Kerrigan, Caitlin at the airport.
You might.
She might still be able to score 30 points, though, in one of those games. I wouldn't put it past her. All right, coming up in a moment, Rob Blackman, the voice of the Purdue Boilermakers. What might they have in store for number 2 Indiana this weekend? We'll find out next. We pause from our dissection of the Colts' overtime loss to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday to talk football on the collegiate level. Number 2, Indiana taking on Purdue. The bucket game coming your way Friday night, 7:30 up at Ross-Ade. And, man, we are so lucky, guys, to have some of the play-by-play voices in the state of Indiana we have. We talk to Dawn all the time in this station, and I love Rob Blackman. And the voice of the Purdue Boilermakers joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good morning, Rob. It is just comforting whether I'm listening to a Purdue game or an Indiana game, either one of you guys. I just feel better when I hear you guys calling football games. Is that all right?
That is very kind of you to say, and I am with you in that I, too, am a big fan of Don Fisher. I don't know if I'm supposed to admit that publicly as a Purdue guy, but whenever I have a chance to catch fish doing football or basketball, I always tune in. But yes, thank you for the kind words.
Rob Blackman with us here, voice of the Boilers. Let's begin with what happened over the weekend. What they did to Texas Tech was quite impressive. By the way, I'm sure the Bahamas treated you quite well. Purdue, once again, doing Purdue things when it comes to the non-conference slate, particularly on neutral floors. Rob, I thought something that stood out to me was, and not to diminish Braden Smith and Drake Hoffman-Wren, but you got that done, and you can make the argument their two best players were Fletcher Loyer and C.J. Cox. That, to me, I think kind of further stands out to what Purdue could potentially be this season.
Well, here's how you can have tangible evidence to your argument. Neither two of the All-Americans even made the all-tournament team. Fletcher Loyer made it, and Oscar Clough made it. So we mentioned the same thing on the post-game show. We're like, think about this. Purdue has 2 preseason All-Americans, and neither one of them even made the all-tournament team here in the Bahamas. Yeah, that certainly speaks to the depth of Purdue. And I'm with you. I think if they would have added one more position to the all-tournament team, it would have been C.J. Cox because of how he played in both of those games. I think he had 10 points in the Texas Tech game and, more importantly, had 18, I'm pretty sure it was, in the Memphis game. So, yeah, it certainly does speak to the depth of Purdue. And then you look at the guys that played off the bench. I thought Daniel Jacobson played really well off the bench for Purdue, as well as Omer Meyer. So, it is, as a Purdue fan, it's awful comforting to know that you can go win a tournament like that, win the championship game by 30 points against the 15th ranked team in the country. And at least on paper, the two guys that are the best players on your team didn't even make the all-tournament team.
To that point, Rob, how much do you think Daniel Jacobson in particular is just enjoying the ability to play this year? Only appeared, I believe, in 2 games last year before the season-ending leg injury, and now he's getting reacclimated into a team that obviously has very high expectations.
Yeah, and he played that first full game last year and then broke his foot 1 minute into game number 2. So you're literally 60 seconds into the second game of your career, and you're on the shelf for the season. So, yes, the fact that he is finally getting an opportunity to play and play extended minutes. Now, look, I know against Memphis Thursday he played, I think, only 5-6 minutes in the game, but he did affect the game. I mean, he still had, 6 points, a couple of rebounds, played nearly 20 minutes in the championship game. But certainly the fact that he's getting a chance to play. One thing that has really helped him the last 2 summers is he's played for Team USA in the FIBA games for the U18s and the U19s. So that's been pretty significant for him because at least he was still, especially this past summer, you come off a season where you didn't literally do anything because of a broken foot. At least he had those few weeks to play with USA basketball. But look, he's not Zach Edey, certainly. Very few will ever be as good as that guy was. But he is 7'4". He's very long. He's athletic, and he can affect shots at the rim. Offensively, he does have a good skill level, not great. You can see that's kind of coming around. But yeah, you can't, you don't coach 7'4", right? And that's what Purdue desperately needed last year. They had no rim protection. I've told this story many a times. Purdue goes all the way to the Sweet 16 last year, despite having the worst 2-point defense in the country, and not the second worst, the worst 2-point defense in the country, because Purdue could not protect the rim. If you got into the paint last year, you were probably getting a bucket. You're either getting fouled or you're getting a bucket. And that has changed this year, and Daniel Jacobson is a big part of that.
Talking to Rob Blackman, the play-by-play voice of the Purdue Boilermakers, football, basketball, and we've got a little bit of a game coming up on Friday night. I'm just curious from your standpoint. We know that they're better than they were a year ago, but what does Purdue have to offer on Friday night?
Yeah, let's start with the fact that Purdue is better. It's certainly, again, when you're looking for tangible evidence in wins and losses, you're not seeing it. Purdue has 2 wins this year. Last year, they only won 1 game. But I saw Coach Signetti's comments yesterday at his press conference. He sees it too. Purdue is improved. Purdue's playing hard. Purdue does have a plan. Just don't have enough good players right now. Look, when you bring in whatever it was, 70-some new players to try to put together a team in the off season, and then 30 of those guys rolled on you after spring, it's kind of hard to piece it together, especially in the Big Ten. So what does your direct question was, what does Purdue have to offer? Purdue is going to play hard, and Purdue is going to have a plan. The problem, of course, is Indiana is just so good and so well coached and so many talented players all over the field. You guys know this. At the end of the day, it comes down to players, right? You're gonna, if you have good coaches on both sides, if you have a good game plan on both sides, that's great. But at the end of the day, one team's going to have the better players, and that team right now is Indiana, and that's what Purdue is striving to get to. And they'll try to do that with the signing period next week, I should say, with high school kids, and then they'll certainly be active in the transfer portal. But it has been comforting. The losses have stung. Please don't misunderstand me here this year. But it has been comforting to know when you go to a Purdue football game, at least you can see that there's some structure. You can see that there's a plan. You can see that they are well coached. It's just now a matter of getting, you have to have some better Jimmies and Joes, and that's what Purdue's going to have to strive to get in the off season.
Rob, is this a little double dip action on Friday? How many times have we had this on campus? Noon, right, for the hoops against Eastern Illinois, and then the bucket game, of course, the rare Friday night 7:00er.
I appreciate you asking that question, because that is the question that is being asked around the athletic department for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and no one seems to know the answer. And I think the answer is because it's never happened. Now, look, Purdue basketball and football have played on the same day, but never both at home. We are almost certain of that. No one can seem to find a record of that the last time this has happened. So it's going to be a long, long day for sure. And football is not even kicking off till 7:45. So, and basketball tips off at noon. The folks I feel the worst for, guys, actually are the folks that help on the periphery. Like the ushers and the folks that park the cars and the concession workers and all those folks, because they're going to be double dipping too. So rest up on Thanksgiving Day, because man, Friday is going to be a long, long day.
Get your mashed potatoes, Rob. Carb up, baby.
Hey, trust me, I've never been one to be bashful about going back to seconds. So let's not even consider that.
I'm right there with you, man. When it comes to Thanksgiving dinner, like, just load up. That's my one excuse each year, to just eat as many mashed potatoes as I can stuff down the gullet, man. So have a good day Thursday.
Are you guys leftover guys? Because I am huge on the leftovers. I'll go through Sunday night on the Thanksgiving leftovers. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, so Sunday night is the limit, Rob. After that, I'm looking at you sideways. Monday, the next week comes, the work week comes, I'm probably looking like, all right.
Trying to stink up the fridge here in the break room?
I'm trying to make sure Rob is healthy enough to continue his great calls for the Purdue Boilermakers.
We're just thinking of you, Rob. That's all we're doing.
Happy Thanksgiving, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, gentlemen. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. There he is, one of my favorite people to talk to, Rob Blackman, the play-by-play voice of the Purdue Boilermakers.
They have a plan.
One thing I did want to note, Purdue football-wise, I'm watching Oklahoma-Missouri on Saturday, and I totally forgot that this player was now at Oklahoma, and they showcased Deion Burks at wideout, and it just kind of got me thinking, you look at Purdue over the last few years, and Rob said it right there about the Jimmies and Joes. Purdue right now has dudes playing, I would argue, somewhat prominent roles for Oklahoma, for Oregon, for Ohio State, for Clemson, for Texas A&M, and Nick Scorton in a couple of years. We're talking, 7 of the top X amount of programs in the nation, and they are Purdue football transfers. The Big Ten should not have dudes transferring from their conference to go play elsewhere. Retention of your top talent is an absolute must. And I'm not acting like Purdue's got that type of talent on their roster right now, but in the Ryan Walters era, they had some of that. You can't let those dudes walk out of the door. That's not how college football is today. Big Ten schools, if you want to sit at the big boy table at Thanksgiving, you can't be letting those guys transfer.
I think part of the problem is, though, too, and I agree with you.
And obviously, that's a financial element.
Right.
I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room.
But for some of those kids, too, they're like, well, all right, am I going to spend the next 4 years going 3-8 and trying to build the 6-5, or am I going to go play for a team that I can play for and try to challenge for a championship?
And that's
probably make more money.
It's part of the roster building.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, coming up in a moment, we will take some more of your feedback via the fan text line at 239-1070. You can also call us up, 239-1070. And coming up top of the hour, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, Rick Carlisle, stops by. It's all straight ahead, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I like this one, Mark. Get you up and moving today. James is up already. Got my head bobbing here. Still can't get over seeing Kevin without a hat on. I'm just not used to yesterday. Honestly, We Grow Hair Indy should be applauded, man. That's
I got a
a
question for you
good-looking head of
guys.
hair.
What if I had like dreads underneath those hats?
That would be impressive. That's for sure.
I'd be looking at you a little like, are those implants? How does that work? I do have a question for y'all though.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving related. So I think I'm gonna try to make the drive back to Illinois, see the family, and spend the night, and come back Friday for
They know that?
Colts practice. Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Just check.
Jeff, I'm a celebrity in my family. When
Okay,
I come
I'm
home,
just checking.
everybody loves to see me, okay? This ain't one of those, oh, James is on. People run and hug me, okay? Mother, God, kids. My sister's like, you're not coming home from war. Why is everyone freaking out? She's a hater, but the rest of the group usually acts accordingly. But in all seriousness, when, as I asked an unserious question, when is the food done at your house? When do you know, okay, I will be getting my plate ready and actually eating? Because my family, shout out to the culture, they always say, oh, the food's going to be done in about 3 or 4. That food ain't going to be done. So I'll just show up whenever and, wait for it to be finished.
I feel like I'm just pre-halftime of Cowboys game.
So second game.
And yes, I associate it with the football. It's on the TV.
Yeah. As you should.
I like that.
And don't we get
As you
musical
should.
acts, right, for these
Yeah.
these Thanksgiving games usually? I feel
Yes,
like
we do.
it's usually a bigger
I think
production
it's Post Malone for the
halftime.
Cowboys one.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, usually I feel like it's right around there. I'm ready to just be done with watching the Cowboys, and sure enough, the food gets into my system, and then I'm like, all right, let's lock back in for the fourth quarter.
So 1 o'clock is Green Bay at Detroit. 4:30 is Kansas City at Dallas.
Yeah, so I'd say 5:30.
8:20 is Cincinnati at Baltimore.
5:36.
Here's how. I don't know exactly what time it is in my house. I just know that whenever the food is done, my wife and I get the look, and she and I are the last ones that are allowed to put anything on a plate.
Oh.
So that's that.
Start throwing elbows.
So when I get that, when I kind of get
that's
that
a choice.
when I get that look, that's just how that goes right there.
No, we're usually eating because we usually had like double dip and go to like both sides of the family and everything. So we would eat around like third quarter of the Lions game, and then food just out the rest of the day. You can have it, you can warm it up, do whatever you want to do. So I think we're around that too. So yeah, we're ready to roll usually around like 1:30, 2 o'clock or something like that. So
Ooh, see, I need to be at the Dykton
I'm like, let's
household.
go.
Y'all are efficient.
I will tell you this though, my brother-in-law came in last night, and the first thing he did is make a bunch of pumpkin bread with icing on the top of it.
Oh, let's go.
Man.
You want to bring some in tomorrow?
Maybe. If there's any left. If there's
That's
any
a
left.
no.
You think
That's a
it'll-
no.
Well, it depends on if there's any left by the end of the day. You got 2 teenage boys in that house, Kevin.
Wes asking if there is such thing as We Grow Dreads in the Wes. That made me laugh very, very
I think
hard.
they're called extensions, aren't they?
Hey,
on
you
this
know what?
Tuesday.
I'm about to say, I think my head can be dreaded up. I might have to take you up on that.
So the halftime shows for all the NFL games. The Lions Packers game. This is produced by Eminem. It's the first year Eminem and the Lions have teamed up.
Ooh.
Jack White, a Detroit native, obviously former
Okay.
White Stripe.
Mhm.
He is going to be doing that one. Post Malone is Cowboys Chiefs, and Bengals Ravens is Lil Jon.
Look at that.
Oh, that's the one I'll be tuned in.
We're going to be turning up a little bit,
Yeah.
it sounds like, on Thursday night.
It's gonna be
Was
fun.
Jarvis Walker turned up last night? Are we? Is there something there, or is this just a?
No, I
Can he
actually
string
think,
it together is the question now.
I think that there's something to build on there for sure. You didn't play some.
Not a guy that just hit open shots.
I actually thought that a few of those shots were open, but not like wide open. I mean, he took some that were I was like, oh, there's a hand there. Now, granted, it was after he kind of was on a heater, but what I liked about his game yesterday was one, it was against a legit opponent. No disrespect to the Charlotte Hornets, they're god awful. I cannot stand to watch them play any basketball ever. So when you face the Pistons, best team in the conference, and you perform like that, I think you can really say, okay, this is what it needs to look like against real opponents, big-time opponents, and hopefully the opponents you see when you get whole in the foreseeable future down the line, next season or whatever, when you get Halliburton back. So I enjoyed what I saw, the decisiveness, the ability to make quick decisions and just make shots. Making shots solves a lot of problems, but beyond that, I enjoyed that he just wasn't fidgety, because sometimes when I watch Jarris, I'm like, do you know what you're going to do when you get the ball? Do you have an idea? Because he can get sped up. I thought he was pretty calm, collected yesterday, and it translates to one of the best games we've seen him play as a pro.
Yeah, I thought the Pascal, and by the way, Rick Carlisle joined us here in 10. I thought the Pascal Siakam comments after the game kind of struck me. And Siakam he's almost like this, I view him like as this fortune teller, just kind of his leadership role with this team. But he mentioned telling Jarris after the game, I don't even know how many times you dribbled in the game. And I think that was a comment alluding to decisiveness and not necessarily just dribbling to dribble there. Quick thinking. He did have a couple nice takes to the rim. He had that really nice one with the left hand. And if this season is going to sniff getting back on the tracks, you have got to get better play from your bench. And last night, they were very good. That was a very good bench performance, not just Walker. McConnell was vintage McConnell. He had one that, had Quinn Buckner blown a gasket there. And I thought Jay Huff and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl even hit some shots. So you can't just have Thanksgiving plate times 10 for Siakam, Mathurin, and Nembhard. It's just too much for them to handle. As the big three. And last night,
what a reference.
You had Mathurin struggle, I thought, efficiency-wise. Nembhard, he's asking to do 10 different things. He's struggling efficiency-wise, and yet Mathurin gets a great look to force it into overtime. I thought he made it, frankly. I thought that thing was dead on.
It looked good for a minute. It looked good.
It felt like that was another one of those, we'll have a chance to ask Rick this, but was that like a Jenny Busek special?
It looked exactly like the Bucks play from last
like
year.
the four running
play
receivers. Again, it worked out, got a good look. And I'm sure Benedict wishes he could have that one back, but I'm not mad at that play design or look at all.
All right, coming up in a moment, as mentioned, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers stops by, Rick Carlisle. We'll talk about the Pacers last night, what's ahead, and the rest of the season in general as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, 9 o'clock hour on a Tuesday. Rick Carlisle going to join us here in a few minutes. Just a reminder, it is an 8 o'clock tip tonight inside of Assembly Hall. That is Indiana against Kansas State. I seem to recall, was it Kansas State, Florida Atlantic a few years ago to go to the Final Four? Was that our Elite Eight game? You remember that Kansas State point guard, Noel?
Yes. He was good. He was really good.
He was one of those NCAA tournament darlings we had there.
Yeah, and then Florida Atlantic, obviously, I was telling you about that run that they had with my boy John L. Davis of Gary 21st Century.
They obviously got there with Dusty May. So, again, I think important one for Indiana tonight. Kansas State, high-scoring team. P.J. Hegarty has transferred there. Kansas State, very similar to Indiana, and a ton of transfers. And they have shot it well, and they have scored at a high level. They did lose to Nebraska. That is their lone loss. It was a close game. Kansas State losing that one, but 8.5-point favorite Indiana tonight inside of Assembly Hall. And then coming up in December, they'll go those back-to-back Saturdays with Louisville and Kentucky sprinkled around. A couple of Big Ten games as the Big Ten has gone with the 2 games in December here before we get into major conference play. One thing to note, too, from the bucket, if you missed it earlier, Purdue is going to go with Ryan Brown as their starting quarterback. Barry Odom announced that yesterday. They have played Malachi Singleton a lot, especially in that Washington game last time out. And then for Indiana, it sounds like Elijah Surratt and Mikhail Kamara both healthy for Indiana as they play that one. 28.5. Does that sound right, Mark? 4 touchdown favorites?
Yeah, it sounds right.
28.5 for Indiana.
Just don't get beat like Illinois did.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Syracuse.
Oh, gosh.
Syracuse is more embarrassing than Illinois. Let's not compare the two.
No, I mean, it's from like a Big Ten matchup.
Got it.
But no, the Syracuse thing is crazy because, again, they allowed Notre Dame to take a 21-0 lead without the offense taking the field. And had they not, you still would have won the game 21-7. So that, to me, was bizarre. That was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that.
That's pretty wild. Like, you imagine if Notre Dame says, no, you guys keep it. Your ball.
This reminds me of
it's like you're playing somebody one-on-one and you're blowing them out so much, a little kid, you're like, no. You have another possession.
No, this reminds me of Jason Williams, who used to play for the Miami Heat and I think the Grizzlies back in the day. White chocolate. Great,
Randy Moss,
flashy
high school
player.
teammate?
Yeah, so he was saying he played a men's league recently. This might have been maybe an interview from like a year ago. And he says his team is so good that when they get up by a lot, they'll start shooting in the other team's basket to give them a better score. And it just makes the other team so mad. And that's what it felt like Notre Dame needed to do for Syracuse. It's like, you know what, Jeremiah Love, run the opposite way and go score for us, please. Because they had absolutely no business being on the same field as them. That was embarrassing.
That's one of the meaner things that I've heard.
I thought it was trolling genius.
Again, coming up this weekend, again, we got
do you get a tech for that?
Yeah, you honestly should.
Hey, stop helping that team.
Bucket game Friday night, 7:45 kick time there for Purdue and Indiana, and then Saturday, typically a great slate for college football. Reminder, Friday we also will get the Black Friday game. It'll be Bears and Eagles, 2 8-3 football teams, right, Mark Dykton?
8-3, the 2 and 3 seeds in the NFC as we stand right now.
Gosh, that is pretty wild.
I want to throw this out there for those listening, and feel free to text it in as well. If you know a big high school game, the boys' season, I believe, has started off, and a lot of season openers tonight, hit your boy up. I might pull up.
I think tonight is BD hosting Fishers. Maybe it's vice versa.
See, yeah. You know what?
Fishers, Ben Davis.
Fishers is like always the big game to start off the year. I went last year for season opener, so yeah, now that you've said that, that might be where I'd be around 7 p.m. tonight.
I feel like when I was kind of growing up, it was always Pike North Central was always either the Tuesday or Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving. I saw last night it was Addicts and Tech.
Yeah.
You don't get really you don't often get a Monday high school game, but you got that there. As obviously you got high school football coming up this weekend.
This would be like the time of the year as a high school sports reporter where I just did not sleep because you got so much going on. Got boys and girls basketball
when they're
starting
all overlapping.
Off. Yeah, and then Kyle Neddenrep, my boy ain't sleeping.
No,
he's bringing us great stories.
The fact that Neddenrep is at basketball games this week, I'm always like, dude, you are a machine.
I know. Shout out to the GOAT.
Clone him and clone Greg Reichstraw. Every high school market should have those individuals in their market. The Jonathan Taylor regret from Shane Steichen. If you had to call a 1 to 10 meter on the amount of regrets that Shane Steichen has and the lack of fourth quarter Jonathan Taylor, you would go where?
Maybe a 4. I didn't think that he had more regret than not. What was your take on it? Because him talking about it, Kevin, it felt like he was pretty adamant that they should execute better through the pass game. And he kept using a line like, well, hindsight's 20/20, and obviously we can go back and say we coulda, woulda, shoulda. It didn't happen, but I didn't sense a greater than not sense of remorse from Shane Steichen.
Yeah, that's probably a number I would throw out there. If it sounded like the drive that started at midfield there with about 4 or 5 minutes to go, the one where Daniel Jones threw it right to Kansas City near interception, that was the one that he expressed a little regret on, more so from, I think, running clock than we need to give our best player the ball more. That's where it sounded like a little bit more on the regret meter for him. So, he didn't really play the game. And I think this is part of a coach, and part of the running back position is it simply the position you play? Whereas if your best player is the running back, if I put enough numbers in the box, you won't try to counter that in any way? Because I think that's what people are looking at the fourth quarter on Sunday. And I view both things can be true, James. I view that Taylor should have got a few more carries, and also Daniel Jones should have been better.
Yeah. And I think to an extent, Kevin, we've harped on Shane Steichen so much, and rightfully so. But Daniel, when the plays were there to be made, he did not make them. And this is a guy who, after this season, you will bring back. You basically mortgage your future on him. So whether it's the franchise tag or a new deal, you have to figure out how much you want to pay that guy and pay him handsomely to be your quarterback. And if you're going to do that, you'd like to have the trust to say, in those moments, he'll make those throws. Because I thought he missed on a couple of throws that he wishes he could have back. The one to Josh Downs on that third down looked like it was a miscommunication.
Yeah, 3rd and 4 downs was wide open.
Yeah, that was kind of miscommunication. But the one that he missed to Michael Pittman Jr., I thought that one was more so about him just missing rather than a miscommunication.
All right, let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. The Pacers, the valiant effort last night. Benedict Mathurin gets a shot in the corner to force the game into overtime. Looked online, honestly, for me. The Pacers seemed to dial up pretty good play in that time of the game. They will be off north of the border coming up later today. They'll take on the Raptors tomorrow night, one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. So let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now and chat with the head coach. He is Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning to you. How are you?
Okay.
Last night, the effort to get back in it, I thought it was one of your better bench performances of the season. What did you see from some of those individuals, and just in general, you guys getting it to a point where you obviously had a shot to force it in overtime?
Yeah, the second half was way better than the first half. We got to do a better job of closing quarters. We had worked hard to get the lead back at the end of the first, and then had a couple of miscues that put us down, I think, 3 points. And just, the ability to play from in front is always important in NBA games. Second quarter was our bad quarter. We lost by 13, and so that got us, a 16-point deficit. And then, coming out of halftime, we said, look, let's go out there and win the first 5 minutes, and then go from there and get ourselves back into this thing. And the guys fought hard. We had a lot of good performances off the bench, as you mentioned, and gave ourselves a chance. But a disappointing ending, and then with 9 seconds left, I mean, Ben gets a good look in the corner. The shot misses, and Pascal goes up for the rebound and gets thrown to the floor, and then there's there's a no call of a foul that should have been called, and so that was disappointing too. But in stretches like this, a lot of things don't go your way, and you just gotta stay positive, and you gotta keep slugging.
Rick, to that point, when you're going to get a 2-minute report that you might not like, what's your reaction to just that part of it?
We have a rating system that comes out every day for every time there's a game. And that's an opportunity to reflect your feelings about things and give the feedback. And so, look, it's disappointing, but the referees, they're not trying to miss calls. It's just it's a men not machines proposition. A very difficult job. Thousands of events that happen over 48 minutes with the clock, ticking, and you got to hope that you've stacked enough good plays to be able to absorb a situation like that. But last night that was not the case. I knew about it after the game. I didn't go into it with the media because right now we can't just be into sour grapes. We've got to find ways to get better each day.
To that point, Rick, looking at the night that Jarris Walker had, it was a very positive night for him overall. What did you like about how he pick and chose his spots on both sides of the floor?
Yeah, one of his better games for sure, and shows what he's capable of. And we need him. I mean, this is a great opportunity for him. I mean, we've kind of belabored that whole thing on this show many times, and last night was terrific, and he was a big reason we got back in the game.
Rick Carlisle with us here again. Pacers north of the border coming up tomorrow. It'll be the Toronto Raptors, who've been very, very good to start this season. And Rick is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. You started Andrew Nembhard on Cade Cunningham last night, Coach, and I know you talked about with us in the offseason just how much you put on Andrew's plate, and part of it is, frankly, I don't know how many other options you have, but how do you kind of balance Andrew's defensive responsibilities right now with getting another ball handler at times on the floor with him to help him out offensively in all the responsibilities that you probably need him to handle?
Well, last night there was really no choice. I mean, we have all the numbers of all the guys that have guarded Cunningham, and it's not even close. We had to have Andrew guarding him, and so he did a tremendous job. And if you really watch the fourth quarter and all the things that were going on and off the ball, I mean, it was miraculous the way he was navigating over screens and everything else. And Cunningham still scored a few baskets, and a couple times he got switches and scored. But some nights there just simply is no choice. We may be able to alleviate, the matchup situation maybe for short stretches during the game. I think Walker guarded him a little bit last night, but Cunningham right now is he's one of the top players in the world. And you got to have your best guy on him as often as you can.
You said post-game last night that it's a hard league right now to score in. Is that with how the game has been officiated early in the season, what you're seeing defensively? I was kind of curious if you had any more on that right now.
Well, we're having trouble scoring. So, and look, I mean, right now with our challenges, from a personnel standpoint, injuries and all that, we've just got to be really on point. I mean, our defense has got to be tuned to its best version. We've got to be square and not getting our hands involved. Otherwise, the other team marches to the bonus. And then, we've got to avoid miscues on offense. First half last night, we had some really good opportunities, and there were a couple times we threw the ball away in transition when we had some space and had some numbers, and just made a play that wasn't quite there. And so, these things pile up quickly, and a couple of the wrong plays at the wrong time can take you out of a very strong position. And so, but those are avoidable things. We'll keep looking at them and keep looking at ways to get better with it.
Rick, we saw an update from Halliburton shared via his social media with him dunking using his right leg, right Achilles, that he obviously ruptured in Game 7 of the finals. Your thoughts on the progress he's making throughout his recovery?
He's doing great. I mean, he posted a thing dunking a month ago too. I think that was off of 2 feet. I didn't see the one yesterday, but it's all very, very positive stuff, and it's amazing, the way guys can recover these days with some of the medical and rehab advances, et cetera, et cetera. And he's in there busting his butt every single day, So it's great to see, and we'll look forward to having him back next year.
Pacers again, Toronto coming up tomorrow night. Then they'll be at home. We get the tree lighting game on Friday. It'll be Washington and Chicago coming up this weekend. Coach, in general with Pascal this season, and obviously the Tyrese loss, I would assume is impacting this. How much more just doubling or attention are you seeing around how teams are defending Pascal Siakam?
Tons. I mean, he's getting double teamed in the post. There was a play, he caught the ball in the elbow last night and put it on the floor, and then there were 2 or 3 guys swarming, and it turned into a jump ball or something. And yeah, we've really got to be on point with our spacing to give him room to operate. And this is one of the things that is important right now. We've got to play with the correct tempo for us. By playing faster, we can play in more space, etc. But we can't do that at the expense of unnecessary and controllable turnovers. And so in the case of Andrew and Pascal, I mean, these are our 2 top guys right now, and they're getting a lot of attention. You saw last night, Sark Thompson is all over Andrew, and really, I thought to a point of excess. Referees didn't agree with me, but it was over the top with physicality, and so we've got to try to protect those guys.
Coach, we'll end with this, and obviously a happy Thanksgiving to you and the family. Annually the Pacers are super out in the community this time of year. We saw Aaron Nesmith, I think, took over for hosting the dinner you guys do there in the lobby. I know Lloyd Pierce has got his coat drive coming up next week. For you, the latest on Drive and Dish. We've talked about the food insecurities around Marion County, and even it's expanded outside of that here over the last year or so. What's new with Drive and Dish?
Well, I've mentioned that, last summer we got an amazing amount of support from ownership. They put $10 million into the program to assure that it goes on for a long time. It has expanded outside Indianapolis. We've raised more money each year, and we've streamlined the program so it's at its most efficient version ever. And we're very proud of it. And this time of year is when it's really important because Indiana does not have a food shortage, but the people that need food suffer because the logistics are challenging. And so Drive and Dish facilitates the logistics that bring food to people that need it. So we're very happy about that, and we hope people take advantage of it.
Do you have a must-have, a must-go-to on the plate of Rick Carlisle for Thanksgiving?
Pretty much basic stuff. Just only request I have is that the pumpkin pie is chilled.
Ooh, chilled pumpkin pie. Are you whipped cream action?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
That's usually the reaction, right, on Thanksgiving. Why not?
Why not? At that point, you might as well throw that on top. Pacers up in Toronto coming up tomorrow, and again, home games this weekend with Washington and Chicago. Coach, safe travels, and appreciate the time. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, likewise, guys. Take care.
Rick Carlisle, Payless Liquors Hotline. Must chilled, right, on the pumpkin pie? Cardinal sin, if not.
What are you talking, room temperature pie? No, thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be chilled. If it's pumpkin, yes.
Mark's wagging his finger at his grandma. Room temp! Take that back as I kick my feet up to watch the Cowboys' fourth quarter.
I'd like to send this back, please.
I was going to say, if you guys are like me, I just avoid the kitchen because there's always a lot going on Thanksgiving or even Christmas or around the holidays, and I'm just like, call your boy when the food is ready. Otherwise, I'll get on somebody's nerves.
Mark to grandma, I acknowledge the room temperature pumpkin pie, but I don't respect it.
I don't respect it.
I feel like we need a shirt with that on there or something.
Thank you to Rick Carlisle. for that. And thank you to Cluster Truck CT Fan. If you've got the tailgate special coming up Saturday and Sunday, you will absolutely love it here. $29.95. Well, CT Fan, first off, gets you $5 off your order. But the tailgate special, 2 large pizzas, 2 pounds of chicken tenders. Great. If you're with family and friends this weekend, from a football standpoint, if you're at Lucas Oil Stadium, coming up doing a little tailgate action on Sunday, you'll have no regrets with that. So thank you, as always, to Cluster Truck.
But you know what it won't get you, unfortunately? The great smells of Evan Sherrill, the best-smelling man in Indiana.
Man just walked in the studio, and as Rick Carlisle was talking about the aroma of chilled pumpkin pie, you just smelled the Hugo Boss
I know.
coming off of Evan Sherrill. Mrs. Sherrill's
What a guy.
a lucky woman.
Shout out to Ball State. Chirp, chirp.
Should we check it out, Mark?
Sure.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. All I smell is
Oh, Lord.
all I smell is the broccoli and steak. That's it, man. Beef and broccoli.
I was going to say, when Beef and Broccoli enters the studio, I'm afraid some things go
all
to
there is.
midnight here.
That's all there is.
Desk moves up a little bit, is what you're saying?
I back my chair a little bit more away from the middle here. You catch my drift, Mark.
Everybody wins. Last night, as you heard just a moment ago, the Detroit Pistons a little bit better than the Indiana Pacers. 122-117 was the final score. Pacers had a chance to tie it up late in the contest in the last 10 seconds, but a wayward 3 by Benedict Mather. Actually, it looked like it was on target for most of that shot. I thought it was going in.
To be honest with you,
That's cash.
I thought he made it there. Hell of a play call. Very reminiscent to the 4-point play Tyrese had last year in front of the Bucks bench there. And really just a weird Pacer game. We're used to the bench not carrying their weight. The bench, I thought, did more than enough last night there. But, again, at this point, as the state of the Pacers is, the fact that they got it to a clutch game against the best team in the East, you probably tip your hat.
Yep. Cade Cunningham looked terrific. 24 points, 11 rebounds. Pacers were led by Pascal Siakam with 24 points. Jarris Walker played well. He had 21 points in that loss last night. Next 2 games will be NBA Cup games. Cleveland Cavaliers losing to Toronto last night, 110-99. Toronto now waiting for the Pacers to show up for the next game Wednesday night. You'll hear it live right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. College basketball last night. Kansas over Notre Dame, 71-61. Kevin, I'll just let that go without comment. Is that all right? Okay. That's what we're doing right there. Notre Dame will try again today. They'll be playing Rutgers also at Las Vegas.
I can't believe that we shot it that bad. That was a great opportunity. We shot it like just dog piss.
Indiana will be at home tonight. They'll be hosting Kansas State this evening. So looking forward to that. Indianapolis Colts, they will be taking on the Houston Texans Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. All of a sudden, a very key AFC South matchup. And D'Amico Ryans is the head coach for the Houston Texans. He had this to say about the horseshoe.
Tyler Warren, he's a playmaker, man. That's wherever you get this kid the ball, like he's explosive, a little faster than you think, tougher than you think. He showed that at Penn State. Like he was a one-man wrecking crew. Like he did a really nice job at Penn State, and it's carried over here to the league. He's still doing a nice job, and you can see they're trying to put him in spots to get him the football because he is that type of guy. He's a playmaker, a guy seems like you can trust, you can count on him. Like he continues to show up play after play, down after down for those guys.
All right, so he's worried about Tyler Warren going into that game on Sunday.
Yeah, Colts can be worried about Nico Collins, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., that pass rush duo, 3rd and 4th individually in the league right now in sacks. And again, as we talked about earlier in the show, Collins is absolutely torched the Colts. So we'll hit on it again tomorrow, but what a massive, massive AFC South game. Obviously, we'll have coverage right here on The Fan. You'll get Iron Eagle J.J. Watt with this matchup here coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Our coverage does begin at 10 a.m. with the ride to kick off JMV, and, of course, the network pregame takes over at 10 a.m. and
9 a.m., right? Bullseye?
9 a.m. Did I say 10? 9 a.m. for John at Bullseye, and then 10 o'clock for the network programming. College football this weekend. Before we get to Sunday, Indiana will be on the road Friday night to take on Purdue. I believe they call that the bucket game, James Boyd.
Yeah, they'll need a lot of help to even remain in that game. Goal for Friday night bucket game, the Purdue Boilermakers, just don't lose by as much as Illinois did. Spoken
Mark,
as Illinois alum.
Mark, will you look up the money line? What would a $10 Purdue win bet net you?
Okay, give me a sec.
A mansion in L.A.
While he's looking that up, Ball State will finish their MAC schedule against Miami of Ohio at noon. Division II playoffs feature Minnesota State at Indianapolis. Division III playoffs, Hanover goes against North Central. DePauw taking on UW Whitewater also in Division 3. And I know Marion, I believe, has a bye in the first round of the NAIA playoff.
$10 on Purdue will net you 240 big ones.
Save your $10 is what I'd say.
And then how about $10 on IU?
I think you owe the sports books money if you bet that. You get 10 whole cents.
10 cents?
10 cents.
So $10 to win 10 cents if Indiana's victorious, and $10 to win 240 if Purdue Pete's carried off the field. Unbelievable.
Monday Night Football last night, San Francisco finished up Week 12 with a win over the Carolina Panthers, 20-9. Brock Purdy threw 3 first-half interceptions, and the Panthers just couldn't take full advantage of that.
Yeah, Bryce Young had a horrific pick in the end zone there. 49ers, they'll come to Lucas Oil Stadium. That'll be the next home game. Weirdly, the Colts just seemingly don't play at home anymore. They will on Sunday, but then they'll have, 2 games on the road after that? Jacksonville and Seattle. Monday nighter, December 22nd, Colts and 49ers.
Christian McCaffrey, still a pretty good football player. 89 yards and a touchdown rushing last night. He added 7 catches for 53 yards as well. He just seems to be in the middle of everything. He is the offense for San Francisco.
I've always been a fan of Mrs. McCaffrey.
You mentioned that earlier off the air, I think. James, you go after him?
That's 2 woos. One for Evan Sherrill, one for Christian McCaffrey's wife.
Not bad.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in right here, right now?
Just go over the Thanksgiving slate again coming up. I think it's a great slate. You've got Green Bay and Detroit to start things off on Thursday. Chiefs, Cowboys. Colts fans, I think, are cheering for the Cowboys. And then the night game, it'll be the Ravens leading the AFC North, and it sounds like the return of Joe Burrow. Shout out Joe Burrow. I mean, the Bengals are all but done, and here he is coming back to play.
He wants to play.
And this toe injury was supposed to be, I think, a more of a late December thing, and here he is back Thanksgiving night. So nice little slate there, and then Mark's Bears and the Eagles Friday. Is that 3 o'clock, Mark?
I think so. It's a weird time. It's a weird one.
It is 3 p.m.
3 p.m. So
yeah.
You could get that leading in then to the bucket game.
There you go.
Sign me up.
Looking forward to state high school championship action this weekend. I will have on radio the 6A game between Brownsburg and Westfield. Had a chance to speak to the 2 head coaches yesterday, John Hart and Josh Miracle. Really looking forward to seeing that. Should be a really good game. Westfield, as you know, Kevin, they've come close the last couple of times against Brownsburg, but not quite over the hump yet.
Yeah, return of Deacon King should be big for Westfield there. They've had, obviously, the Carmel game was wild, but yeah, you would think some revenge on their minds against their HCC brethren.
Usually it's me, but before the segment's over, Kevin's the one going to retrieve the cluster truck order right there. I like that.
I'm
good
hungry,
job,
and
You put it on the floor.
I love me some cluster truck.
You wore the hat today, too.
Thank you, Evan True.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the Colts and what they have to get done and the rest of the NFL. Where do they fit now in the AFC with losing 2 of their last 3 and some of the other teams trying to pick it up? We'll do it next as we continue. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Kevin, I will never be mad at Evan Sherrill for anything ever. Forever, for any reason whatsoever. Like he can. This is good stuff.
Evan, remove his item from the menu. Let's see if that still holds true. That statement holds true.
I've had many.
Remove
Yeah,
it from
remember
the
he
menu.
ordered the entire pizza that one time.
I've
I was
had-
like,
That's right.
You're bringing back those college days.
I've had pizza. I've had wraps. I've had salads. I like the Korean.
CT fan again. Thank you to Cluster Truck. I highly encourage a little weekend action here. The tailgate special on football weekends. That's 2 large pizzas, 2 pounds of chicken tenders. You will thank me later.
Was that Joel Santana?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Funny enough, Mark, I believe I watched a clip yesterday where Joel Santana, the rapper, was talking about how reading isn't that important in life.
I did see
And I
that.
got disappointed.
Maybe
and I
that's
was
why that
like,
song stuck out in my head.
Yeah, I was thinking, boy, the idiocy we pass on to the youth these days
That
upsets
Now
me.
that you mention it, that's probably why that song popped
The
in my
man
head.
said you could have
I saw his
ChatGPT.
name and I'm like, why did I see that name? Why is it resonating?
I
Now
know.
I
He
remember.
said that you could have ChatGPT read your contract because people were like, wait a second, you have to read your contract if you're a musician. He's like, you could just put it into ChatGPT and they'll tell you what to do.
I'm gonna
Well,
explain
Good
why.
luck with that.
Not to
like-
transition from idiocy to anything else, but Jeff Rickard's comments of A.D. Mitchell's catches this season.
Oh.
Let's go. Adding to the count.
Mark Dykton, do we have an update on that?
Adding to the count.
The Jets played this weekend, right? A.D. Mitchell was in the lineup.
He was in the lineup. He had 2 more catches for 42 yards. He was targeted 7 times. So he had 2 catches on 7 targets,
Two catches closer.
reaching a season total of 12 receptions for
Oh, we're up to
204
13,
yards. No
12.
touchdowns.
Can
still.
you do the voice?
12.
12.
Yeah, the number doesn't go
12.
that high.
We're getting into this debate of, NFL seasons, how long they're going to be. Will they stretch to 18 games? Jeff's going to need that Ellie De La Cruz length of an NFL schedule if A.D. Mitchell's going to
We
reach
just need 10 catches a game. We'll be good.
80 catches here.
Be good.
He's on his way.
Always Injured Indiana has written me up on the social media, Kevin, and said, "Can Pacers Kev work his magic and get the Colts their picks back?" He wants the other Kevin to get that done. Maybe he can work with Chris Ballard. We can get our picks back after trading them all. What do you think?
People upset about the Sauce Gardner trade, or is that more of a Daniel Jones big picture concern?
I think that's probably more of a Daniel Jones big picture concern. I think Sauce Gardner will settle in and be fine, but the point of that deal is you're kind of going all in for the next couple of years because you think you got the quarterback, right?
Correct. Yep, that was a big part of the trade.
How are we feeling about that now, just a couple of weeks later?
I
I think there's a lot to be done yet.
Yeah, I think even before the trade, I don't know if anyone was acting like Daniel Jones is, hey, erect the Manning statue or move the Manning statue to the
I was
south
there.
side of Lucas Oil
I was
Stadium,
there.
put the Daniel Jones one out front. But I think it's one of the more difficult things NFL teams go through. Do you have Ryan Tannehill or do you have Baker Mayfield? What do you have?
And when you had Baker Mayfield, which Baker Mayfield did you have?
All right, and Baker Mayfield went to what, 4
Great
teams
point.
before he found a home in Tampa. So, that position, finding a guy, nervous if you get rid of that guy. Do you have a guy? All of it is just so difficult, and it's what makes that position so special, why it makes the amount of money that they do. And if you look at the AFC as a whole, the last 2 years, we've had the same 4 quarterbacks in the final 4. And as this season has played out, there has been a little bit of a rising to the crop. Now, I don't think it's fair to say that about Houston's C.J. Stroud, although I think Stroud, when healthy, has been fine. But, here comes Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Here comes Mahomes and the Chiefs. Allen and the Bills are still hanging around. It'll be interesting to see if we get new blood in the Final 4. Right now, from a standing standpoint, we will. But those quarterbacks are just lurking, especially in the wild card round.
And they're struggling this year too, but Joe Burrow's not going anywhere either. And I do think that at some point, Cincinnati will get its act together down the road in the next year or two and be a formidable opponent for folks.
God bless you, Jeff. I believe in Joe Burrow. I do not believe in that franchise.
Might be a new coaching staff there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that they're one of the dumber teams in the league.
I'm just saying, they got a guy. I would always rather build around a guy like Joe Burrow than not have Joe Burrow to build around.
Hey, facts. No, I agree with that.
Maybe it'll all work out, James. Have some positivity for heaven's
Nah,
sake.
I agree with you on Joe Burrow, but boy, that franchise, the way they do things is just dumb, in my opinion. But anyways, as far as the Colts go, yeah, to Jeff's point about quarterback play and where you're at as far as the trade and maybe some trepidation that fans are feeling about it, in the back of my mind after Sunday's game, in 3 of the last performances that we've seen from Daniel Jones, I'm like, should the franchise tag be a little bit more of a tool being used for this team?
And you said because length of the contract versus
yes,
how much money you'd be giving
because
them for that
you
1
have
year.
you have some time, you have the opportunity, and I get that you basically mortgage your future on Daniel Jones, but still you have some wiggle room here before you jump fully into the deep end and say this is our guy. And I know people are saying like the franchise tag is $46 million next year. That's a projected worth, but
it's over after a year.
Exactly. And you get another chance to see, can you run this back? Can you sustain this? Because you don't want to be in a position where you give him a lucrative long extension and you're looking up a year from now and saying, you know what, the Daniel Jones we saw over the last 3 games, that's more of the guy we've seen versus the one we saw the first 8 games. Now, I do believe he's been a better player here, and there are some ways he could be better going forward, but that's in the back of my mind now. Like, 3 games is not just a blip anymore. I'm starting to think, like, have teams kind of figured you out, and is this your new baseline where, again, he wasn't necessarily bad, in my opinion, overall on Sunday. He was bad in the second half and late, but if 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks, but not being able to make game-winning plays, is that enough for me to say I want to give you the future?
James says the first 8 games he was chilled pumpkin pie. The last 3 he was room temperature.
That's what I'm saying.
I take
Look
this
at that.
back.
That's what I'm saying.
Signed off by Rick Carlisle.
It doesn't taste as good. So that is a question that I seriously have is we've heard all these chatter, all these reports about, they're already talking about extension, the contract negotiations. You can pump the brakes a little bit.
No, I'm nodding my head at a lot of what you're saying right now, particularly just the commitment to him. You know, draft pick wise, you probably have committed to him for multiple years. But again, financially, you don't necessarily have to do that. Who do you guys, if you take the location of next week's game out of the equation, a.k.a. Jacksonville, where this team hasn't won in a decade, who fears you more, the Texans at 6-5 or the Jags at 7-4?
Texans. That defense is for real. And you get a little bit of offense with C.J. Stroud getting healthy, that could be a tough team to deal with. Defense travels. Defense plays. Defense keeps you in games.
I might go with the Jaguars. I just don't know what it is about Liam Cohen.
Because they're a game up or because...
Because they're a game up.
Okay.
And I think they're just a tough team. And that's not an identity that I think that they really had in years past. I mean, for a couple of years here, we're like, okay, how are the Jaguars going to blow it this time? Ever since that collapse, I want to say it might have been the 2023 season.
Yeah, they were the 1 seed, I want to say, like at this point of the season.
Yeah, and they just collapsed. Since then, they have not really put a lot of fear into me, but because of the arrival of Liam Cohen, I think that he's given this team a level of resiliency and toughness that I just didn't expect, because I'm waiting for them to kind of fall off. We all kind of said it like, oh, Travis Hunter's out, Trevor Lawrence looks like whatever. They're going to lose some games, and they just haven't done it. And I think that is something to kind of hang their hat on. And their defense, I think, has played well to a degree.
It's weird because, like, the Jaguars are 7-4. Like, that's the Jaguars. They'll fall. But then you look at their schedule, and, like, they have some quality wins on that schedule. Like,
right.
They went 3 straight where beating the Texans at San Francisco, and then they beat the Chiefs in back-to-back-to-back weeks. And they also beat the Chargers. Like, they've got some quality wins on there. So
yeah, it's not just this overtime survival.
No.
That they
right. It's
had.
but then they have some Jacksonville losses where they lost to the Bengals and everything like that. So and barely beat the Raiders. So it's just there's some weird stuff going on, but they do have some quality wins against some very good opponents.
Where are we at on their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, at this point in time? Is he a true franchise quarterback or just an okay quarterback that's getting by?
He's like a slight notch above. If you have 13 quarterback notches, he's a slight notch above Daniel Jones.
That's the question right now.
I feel like if you were having to ask that question about a franchise quarterback this many years into his career, you don't have a franchise.
Now, he is with a new coach, a coach that
he's also had a string of offensive coordinators,
just
one after
with
the
Baker
other.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
So, there is that thought here. It looks like they'll get Brian Thomas Jr. back, their wideout, who obviously had some big games against the Colts last season there. So he could be back in lineup a week from Sunday. And just to remind everybody, I've shared these numbers a little bit earlier. I know it seems a hair early maybe to look at playoff odds and all of that. Right now, if the Colts were able to win the next 2 weeks, their chance to win the AFC South would rise to north of 90%. If they were to drop these 2 games, you would drop all the way to 15% in winning the division. Almost sounds like betting on Purdue to win on Friday night and the money you would make versus betting on Indiana to win and the money you would make there. If you split, it's about a coin flip. So I don't think it's, an overreaction to just continue to hammer home the massive level of importance that these two games have.
Once again, what we have, James, is opportunity. They have an opportunity the next few weeks to put their stamp on the NFL season. You are not optimistic at all, my friend.
I'm realistic. I feel like I'm not pessimistic, but I'm realistic.
We have no NFL tonight. We have no Pacers games tonight. That means maybe some college basketball. We'll find out what everybody's watching as we continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You know, as Kevin has pointed out a couple of times today, it's that Midwest thing, certainly Indianapolis thing today, where you look at the temperature and you're like, oh, it's going to be in the mid-50s today. That's not so bad. It's the middle of November. But then you go outside and it's just soupy all day long. Just wet and drizzly and soupy all day long.
Mark, how about we reward some people in this weather right now? We've done it to lead off shows before. How about to close it out? A couple 4-packs to Butler in action this Friday coming up. It is Wright State inside of Hinkle Fieldhouse. 2 o'clock tip there. So we'll go fast fingers there.
We're going to do the call-in this time.
Yeah, let's go with some fast fingers here.
All right, make Mark work a little bit. Make him answer the phone. Screen some people. See, he likes it when we go text line because he can just, they write it all down for him.
James,
I don't care what Mark likes. Do your job. Chop, chop.
James, obviously Shane Steichen's first season, he had as big of a game as you can have. Week 18. That was the ultimate
de facto playoff game.
Now it is the first season as him as a first-time head coach. Second season plays out. Obviously, the Colts were never, I think, in a great position. They, of course, blew some games in December to try and create those moments again. Sunday just feels really big. Like, again, I don't want to act like it's obviously week 18 winning in, but that's year one. You're still in the honeymoon. You're still,
house money.
Yeah.
At that point, Anthony Richardson was out for the year. You had Gardner Minshew in there.
Yeah, that is a good point. This just feels a little different of like, what's going to start clinching up if all of a sudden you don't get the win. Now, the Colts have been outstanding at home this season. Their numbers at home versus the road are very different. Some could point just strictly to the opponents, but still, they've been a much better team at home. But I don't know. Do you have that vibe at all of just Sunday feeling a little bit more of a, oh boy, there's a heightened sense of urgency as you hit the road for 2 straight after this one?
Absolutely, because I think you're trying to stave off the feeling of being the same old Colts. This year, you've changed so much about your immediate and future reality if things continue to go well. You're 8-3. You won a season opener for the first time in forever. You were able to, start the season 2-0 for the first time in 2009, like yada, yada, yada. But you've now hit your first real rough patch of the season, and this is when you have to show who you're going to be. It could go either way very fast.
I'm going to go ahead and continue to play looking on the bright side of things right now. And look, they've lost 2 out of the last 3. They did win the overtime game against the Atlanta Falcons. But if Kansas City is still, even if there's just remnants, but they're still Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, long term, if they win a couple of these division games, is there that much shame in losing a road game in overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes?
No. I think the
there you go.
We've been putting positive spins on everything. I feel like this is the song we're going to go to from here on out.
You go from Queen Bee to that here in the last 5 minutes from a musical standpoint on the show. No. I mean, the beauty of a 17-game NFL grind is stretches define you. Individual Sundays do not. Stretches.
Ooh, put that on my tombstone. That's a bar.
Is that right above or right under throw to score, run to win?
I'll put it right underneath, Jeff.
Shane's words didn't lead to actions there, so that was just word salad on Sunday, Lee. So that's what we're going to find out, Jeff. Yeah. Is 2 of 3, a hurdle, or is it something that is going to be a little bit more of we look back on the season and say, you know what, first half of the schedule, yeah, it was a little bit more manageable, and then all of a sudden the schedule stiffened up, the blueprint started to show up, and the 17-game grind got to you. So, I think that's how we'll view it right now. I am very curious to see the defensive effort. When Houston has showed up on the schedule lately, one of their biggest weaknesses, arguably their biggest weakness, has been their offensive line. Sans DeForest Buckner, how much can you take advantage of that? I'm not, Nico Collins, if he torches this secondary, then you got some definite problems. But I just don't expect Houston to come in here and light you up offensively. That would be very disappointing, even without Buckner.
Well, you shouldn't have to worry too much about that run game. That's one thing that the Texans really haven't gotten going this year.
Woody Marks time, right?
Real Woody Marks, whether it's him or they just haven't been able to get it going. True, they just have not been able to chew up time or chew up yardage on the ground. And so, they're probably going to have to rely on Nico Collins. And that's where you feel better if you're a Colts fan, because that's another week of learning the system and integrating with everybody else. And I still think long-term, that's a terrific secondary. So, yeah, if you're the Colts, another week to work on it with the new guy, feel pretty decent about that.
It was good to have Traveris Ward back in there. I know he mentioned how scared he was when he kind of took that blindside hit from the Chiefs offensive lineman, but it was fortunately to his chest, not his head. And he said it did a lot for his confidence to go out there and take a hit, give a hit, and respond.
And Shane said he checked out fine.
Yes.
Afterwards, just to add a little bit further more. So Ashton Doolin will miss some time, but as of now, that appears to be the only injury exiting Sunday. By the way, I'm looking forward to tonight. It could be a really high-scoring affair down there in Bloomington. Darren DeVries and company, especially if they get back to shooting the basketball. Like we saw earlier in the season, Kansas State has been very high-powered this season. It's kind of a unique matchup. IU, Kansas State. Sounds like an old school, a little bit of a throwback there. So P.J. Hegarty and Kansas State, they've put up a lot of points this season. Lamar Wilkerson, does he get back to kind of how he shot it earlier in the season here? So kind of a notable Tuesday night in late November.
That's probably what I'll be watching tonight. Mark, anything else out of the ordinary at your house you guys are going to be putting on
I took a big old bite of cluster chuck. You asked me a question.
Well, of course.
I don't know. If the new Pluribus episode's up there, we'll probably watch that.
Chipmunk cheeks over
I
there.
know.
Unbelievable.
He looks so happy.
Everybody's happy with that. So you're on Indiana tonight, too?
At 8 o'clock as well. Reminder to everybody.
All right. That's going to put a wrap on up for us tonight. We will have one more show this week, and then we're off for the Thursday and Friday holiday combo, and lots of games going to be on the Fan, including state high school championship games Friday and Saturday. Various stations here at Radio 1 will get you sorted out on that tomorrow as well. Have a great day. Jake at noon,